guess yours a lot of orange.
How are you all?
Awesome.
Good.
Good day of training?
Good day of training.
All
Good
right.
day, good
We're,
day.
you know, we're ready.
Okay, I got a problem. See, I can sell this. Well, see, we got these new computers in the office. And we got this font that makes it look like things are crossed out by hand. And,
So we're okay with that.
good, good, I hope you are. And I got the smudges on this paper that makes it look like there's apostrophes where there really isn't. But I don't know how that happens. Is it our turn to give you some language, your turn to give us some money?
I think we've got things
All right.
that are, we're ready.
You gave us some homework, so I'll get right to giving you my homework.
Okay. This was comp time?
Okay, well, a couple things. AC reappointment, we had to clean that up. Got a couple things to
Oh,
clean
I
up
thought we
here.
were handing out.
Yeah, I did that.
We got in a contract to give to you.
Oh,
Oh,
that's
So
the part I got right.
we've got this font that actually crosses it off, so.
You got, we ordered the wrong computer.
I hope we're this lighthearted in, an hour from now.
I hope we are.
gosh, I hope so.
I hope we are. Hey, by the way, we're committed to being here,
Yeah.
whatever it takes.
Yeah, we are too.
Okay.
All right, we'll go with your language first.
So you've got, it'll be interesting. I mean, I tried to take what we agreed, what we verbally said, so we'll see.
And we did the same thing, so we can see if it matches up.
So you can match yours, and we'll match ours. All right, let's see what we got. Oh, Barry, you want to thank you, Barry. Reprising your role. I'll take you through this document, and then we'll show you the language.
Nice guy.
Thank you, sir.
I tried to list again the topics. The top didn't want to scare anybody because it looks like a lot of stuff, but some of that's going to be really fast, I think. And there's nothing terribly new there. I don't think anything's going to surprise you. For those following along at home, let's see, the grandfathered scale, we gave you something last week, looked something like this, and we're curious to know how we did. We think that should make it to the contract, because it's required by law that we have a grandfathered scale where people, for placement purposes, so we might as well put that in the contract. Standardized testing, there was a really cool PowerPoint presentation that Lynn Spadaccini did at a board meeting, and if
Yes.
you would just care to share that with us, or tell us where to find it, tell us where to go to find a link of it, because so many teachers are curious in a good way. They want to know, hey, where do we find all that information? So maybe report to us where that is. Y'all agreed that discretionary time could be on the last day, so we gave you a piece of language on the backside, just to put that in language and ratify it. I actually have heard, since the time I wrote this, I hear that we do have a meeting set for tuition reimbursement.
No, it's not a meeting. We're going to try to do this via email to
Okay,
begin with
it's
because.
an electronic meeting.
Yeah, because, everybody just doesn't have much time and schools get ready to start, so. I've
But you
already
have that
had-
set up, you have those details going and rolling?
Yeah.
So there's
Yeah,
some people
Sandy's
last
already
week and say,
respond.
okay,
I'm just waiting for Stephanie and Michelle. Mhm.
okay. So we'll say that work is up and going, so I will check that out. Okay, well, thank you. We owe you some planning time language based on yours. Jim, that's I'm being silly, but I tried to capture what y'all said, and I left in that whole half a sentence that you said take out, so it's manually fraud. When we get to that, you'll see, I was trying to get it captured. With the AC protection, we'll look that over, see if we got what you got.
All right.
Salary, that's that frog we keep trying to eat.
Yep.
Health plan, we had mentioned something at the end, we'd asked you to consider capping a family of BPS employees at 8,000.
Yep, we got that.
Okay. Comp time, I owed you some language, and we'll get to a discussion on that, that's on the back.
Okay.
I have a couple items that I need to talk to you about, that, just informational purposes,
All right.
and we'll get, that's not to haggle back and forth. And from there, we'll just, if we can settle,
All right.
then we just talk about ratification, how that all happens. We already have, on our end, just for information for you guys, Rich and I are committed to the next 2 weeks of school, after school, being in various places around the county. We're going to have that in our newsletter going out to teachers during pre-planning, where we'll be for contract Q&A. So we'll be doing all we can to inform our folks and get a vote off.
Right. Okay.
Ideally, that vote would happen within the first, well, not during pre-planning week. The earliest it could happen would be Friday of the first week with students. But we'll see. I mean, we're committed to getting a vote off and informing our folks and voting. And then we've already committed that this will be an ongoing process, so that's that. That's our list.
Guys, this looks doable, very doable.
Yeah.
You want to look at this,
Hey.
right, if we settle. You want to take a look at the language, see if we got AC?
Well, what I was gonna do is this. Why don't I pass my language out across the table too? We haven't got the salary here, we're gonna hold off on that, okay, but just the language. Because that way we can check off, you can look at our language, we can look at your language on AC. If it reads exactly the same, we'll TA it right now. And we'll start working off your list, my list, because there's just a few things here. And let's just go ahead and get that house cleaned up, and then we'll just get into, the, as you say, the big things that we have to talk about is salary. How's that?
Okay.
So, given what has to say, yeah, let me know. Some parts. Sure.
Thank you.
Ken, okay.
Oh, Lord.
Right.
So our challenge is to see if, I'm looking at your starting line 29,
Yeah.
and I see you've got a couple, it's not a deal, I don't think, well, I'm sorry, let's let everyone get it out. Everyone, well, okay. Get some, I don't know if you have any more for the audience, I got a few.
Yeah, on our list to do, we have, of course, the teaching assignments and duties. We know that we were at a point where we were discussing 6 or 7, and we have what I consider the MOU that is on the back side, on page.
Oh, oh,
3.
good.
See on page 3, if you look up there, board offer strategic plan. We've put that there because that's what we said we would offer to you all, put in the strategic plan. So we've got to get that off and see if you guys will agree now to TA that language with that MOU, being that we would put this language in the strategic plan. AC, assignments and transfers. You can see your language. We're going to read your language and our language, make sure everything is aligned. And then over on, still back on page 3.
Is it three-page document? Okay.
Yeah, page 3, we've got comp time language there.
Mhm.
And then you had asked me last week.
We gave you some too. We'll look at each other's and we'll see what we,
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, I think we're very close, and then you had asked me last week to give you examples and definitions, what teacher leaders are. And so
Correct.
we've done that, we put down peer coaching, mentor teacher, curriculum coaches, and speech language pathologists. We added that one because you all had asked us to insert that as far as teacher leaders. Dan, we left off ROTC because we like to have further discussion with you about that in your team. But anyway, we defined their roles, because you said, all right, how would these people be selected? What would they do? How would they earn the money that they, that we've inserted if we get close to selling our contract tonight? So I've got language there. You can see with the board, we're basically done.
okay.
Our language is basically complete, so let's
We
just.
still got a big thing. We
Oh,
still
yeah.
got- We got money, but you're right. We can be happy that we don't have a ton of language to figure out. We're not far away on the language.
Before, you all know this, we've come in here and we've spent 2 or 3 hours on language, just on one issue. I think we're right now done with that. We can really now concentrate on salary tonight, which is what we need to concentrate on, and see if we're close and can wrap up.
All right. Just to talk about this AC stuff, because this is going to be our first assignment.
Yeah.
I'm looking at yours versus mine.
Yep.
You've got crossouts and underlines and things like that in yours. And in ours, I'm trying to capture without all the crossouts.
That's
So
right.
if we take out all your crossouts, you should have mine.
Yep.
Or ours.
Yep.
Yours should be ours and all that. So we got crack proofreaders right here working on it. The difference though is up in your proposal lines 19 through 22. 19?
Yeah.
All right, 19 through 22, it's not a deal breaker. We don't usually go out of our way to state the obvious or explain Florida statute in our contract. I mean, you want to define an annual contract, as I said, I don't see the need to do that. We borrowed some model language from Seminole County, apparently they felt the need to do that. You know, we don't usually quote per, of course, it's just those watching or reading or wondering about this, it just says pursuant to this law, an annual contract teacher has a 1-year contract. We know that. I don't think that's necessary, but if you think it is, if we're gonna not settle a contract unless you get those lines, then I'm not gonna.
No.
I'm not gonna hold up a contract for that, just.
All right.
We're opening a door to future people sitting in these chairs in the future, just quoting random pieces of law just to fill up a contract. But- All right, so we're reading?
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay. You're finding just a few minor little things. A few minor little things. Few minor things. Yeah, I actually.
We like that too.
That was awesome.
She likes our stuff.
What?
I mean, that wasn't. This
Yeah,
is what
that
we
was
s-
unrealistic.
This is what we
What,
said.
line 2
last-
on page 2?
Oh, you're on line 2, page 2? Yes,
All and from?
that's what we, well, shall,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what we're talking about.
I don't know why we said that last time, but we did. We said everyone gets an interview, you get 500 people.
That's
in the-
unrealistic.
That's not, but as long as you pick someone from the pool, we're good, we're draining the pool. Do we lose an external candidate?
Yeah. Well, they did.
No, they wrote it all.
No, but I mean, is that in the language? External candidates from this. But for whom? A yield to a boomerang for whom?
Really?
At that time, at this time. Well, we all agree, I think there's a couple
Right.
here and there.
Minor.
But is there any major, I see one real change in intention and Vicki and I were, I'm kind of talking to my team here, pretend it's a private meeting. I see one minor change in intention, and Vicki and I were kind of, the first blush was that theirs was better. We kind of came up with something dysfunctional last time.
Huh?
About the all interviews shall be interviewed.
No, we didn't come up with the all though.
Right, but yeah, somehow as a group, we decided all people in the pool have to be interviewed.
Yeah, that's
Potentially, that
unreal.
could be weird. And I think we admit, I mean, not weird, but that could be awkward. I mean, that could be hard to do.
Yes.
You could have 40 people in a pool that are
Science certified.
K-6.
Right.
I'll say K-6 is probably the big one, but yeah, you could have
Yes.
30 science teachers in there. And although they all want an interview, as long as the principal's getting one from the pool.
That's right.
Read the
Yeah.
resumes. I understand the process of you read the resumes and you pick 5 to interview. I mean, I'm
That's
okay
right.
with that. I mean, we were giving y'all funny looks last time when you said, no, we're gonna interview everybody, so. No, we're not on that, we're on this, we're not, I'm not there yet. So, I mean, you've got a couple ofs. You went with prior, we had previous, that's not a change. I mean, it's not a meaning
No,
change.
no.
I'm not a big fan of the random switch between italic and regular, but other than that. Guys, we need to,
You guys need to caucus and talk?
I'm just
or
hoping
we
maybe
do
they'll
it?
look at me. Are we good with their language? I mean, do we need to talk? Do we need to caucus, or are we good with what they got? We good with what they got? We good with what they got? I mean, say something, we need to caucus, I'm not trying to strong arm you.
No, AC, I'm good.
As an AC, you're good? You're the representative?
Good?
Y'all are AC, you're good with that?
So you're going to CIRs, is that what you're saying?
Hold on, we might.
Oh, yeah, there's one.
Is that, I mean,
It should be and.
and again, just some people I know who
Vanessa, is this something you know, you want to take a break and go talk about?
First page, less than an effective final evaluation.
Okay.
It's just a minor,
Less than, and, yes, and.
what line? There, no,
Thirty-two.
and, front
Okay, I
page.
see it, thank you.
I think we changed it verbally last time, but I
Right.
don't, you know,
Okay,
to OCD thing kicking in.
that's all right, no.
Extra set of eyes.
I want to make sure
We
you
were
guys.
eyeballing Dan's earlier, so.
So we'll bring that to their attention. That's how that's defined. That's how it's defined. People before, there's no way to divide people before, understand. Jim, a little discussion we is that, and this isn't gonna go away. This isn't gonna go away until we do it, we try it. I've got you on speed dial. We know that people, again, not calling out individuals here. If you'd like a list, I'll give you a list, but we know that people have ways of kind of trying to sneak around certain things. So we're gonna agree, you and I are gonna agree that we're gonna be vigilant. We're gonna educate our ACs, our teachers that don't fit back at the school. And, you know, when we see that job advertised, you know, when you've got 6 science teachers still in your pool, and we notice that there's, you know, 2 positions, half biology, half chemistry, and over here, half biology, half chemistry. And they're avoiding 2 people in the pool, I mean, we're gonna have a conversation when that comes up.
We will.
So, and we're gonna be very vigilant of that kind of thing. Because we've got other facets, we haven't dealt with AC reappointment yet in our contract, but we've got other things, transfers and renewals and interview process in our contract where we've seen funny things happen, so we're gonna monitor that during the year.
You know, look, I know your all's concerns. I don't know them. I think that I know them. And Dan, there'll be probably a lot of ways in which people can be crafty, in which they'll figure things, in which they can work it to where it works for them. I think that's where you have to trust the HR department, and I have to trust that you'll get in touch with me, and we deal with those individual problems as they appear on a case-by-case basis. Because if we try to spell out everything or try to pretend that we can put everything in the contract, we drive ourselves crazy. We really would. You've got my word, and I told you this last week, I will do my very best to try to keep the principals on the straight and narrow with how they go about advertising things. I know you all have had a big concern, and you all given in the fact that you all know that we don't want to tie supplements to, and I know you all don't want to tie supplements to advertisements, but we do. We feel that there are times where we need to do that, but we will govern it. We'll do it fair, we'll do it honestly, transparency, and I think that you and I both, in the last 9 weeks, have forged a relationship that you can call me and I will get on whatever it is that I need to look into and get you the response that you need in a timely manner.
All right.
That's my word. That's
more-
my word.
It's more than just trust. I appreciate we're building trust, but we're gonna be vigilant. It's gonna be a vigilance and trust, and we're gonna get through this. All right, just review what we're doing. Lines 12 through 17, that's already in the contract.
Yes, sir.
So we're not gonna TA that as new, but that's good that we have that as reference, though.
That's right.
Lines 19 through 22
That just came straight from the
are not in the
Seminole-
contract.
Yeah, that came straight from the Seminole language that we lifted this
If you-
model from. Yeah, we just took it
It
straight
doesn't,
there.
it doesn't help, doesn't hurt.
Right.
If you want it, you need it in there?
All right, we just put it in there because it came out of their model, and, remember, we got the model from you
Hey,
all.
maybe they're doing something right. They just got their half penny pass, so
Right.
maybe they're doing something.
Right, so we just
Okay.
stuck it there, and then, of course, we agreed that we were gonna strike this other language.
Thank
We
you.
didn't like that, we took it out.
There was some there, that was just a little nastier than it needed to be.
Yep, so we took it out. And now we're down to, I think, if you all are happy with what we've got, we can TA it and move on.
We'll buy it
All right.
as is.
Buy that
Guys, we just did something big. We
That's,
just
I was gonna
did,
say, that was a huge.
we just did a whole lot of help to a whole lot of people out there, because there's a whole lot of people that,
I did find one grammatical error. Sorry.
That's all right.
No,
On
what is
line
it?
32, there
We
should
got
be
it.
and.
We got it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we got it, we got
Sure,
it.
all right.
wait, hold on.
We didn't tell Dan.
We didn't tell Dan, but he's
got-
okay.
Rhonda and I gonna.
Less than and effective.
Our language.
Yeah.
Nice catch.
Jessica had brought it up about 5 or 10 minutes
Yeah.
ago.
Where was I? Okay. Wait, I get him an initial, I got an initial. You were doing what I was doing, Jim. You were circling the differences as you went. Thank you, Barry.
I know what you're doing.
Barry puts her period rubber pieces. Did you, what, you just TA'd, you TA'd ours? Thank you.
I think you just TA'd Barry's ID badge.
You get to keep another.
There goes the contract.
Too bad the audience didn't get to hear some of those things. That was a good one. All right. Thank you, Dan. Thank you,
All right.
team. That was, guys,
That was big.
that was a big one.
Yeah.
That was a lot of hard work, and you know what? That's a big one.
The board, I'll tell you.
You guys are
in a
happy,
year,
we're happy.
The board has moved a lot on that issue.
Yeah, we're happy with
There are
it.
going to be a lot of AC teachers.
There'll be a lot of AC teachers that'll be happy. It will
And I'm one
be
of them.
next
Yeah.
summer will be a good summer, hopefully. I hope to be able to see that next summer.
All right, we took a little
Everybody
pressure,
back.
took a little pressure off the HR director.
Yeah.
All right, check.
Okay.
What else we
Yeah.
got? Okay, let's see, who's comp time?
Language.
We were trying to capture what, I'm sorry, Jim, are you okay moving to comp time? That's your next?
Yeah, okay, AC protection, I want to check that off. Let's look at standardized testing reduction summary by Lynn Spadaccini. That was an excellent presentation she's done. She did excellent work there. That's curriculum and instruction at City Van Dieter's department, but more importantly, Lynn Spadaccini looks over all the elementary folks. So I want to give a shout out to that whole department.
Tell us where
And
we
you want to
find-
know where it can be found, so.
May 27th was the board meeting in which Dr. Spadaccini presented that information, so it's a part of the minutes as well as a part of the agenda. The handouts were not a part of the agenda or the minutes, but I certainly can get those. You or we will potentially try to figure out someplace on the website for that. Dr. Spadaccini just reminded me that there will be some slight adjustments in dates, but not in the number of assessments.
If you could, send that to me electronically,
Okay?
please. Either the link, if you put up on your website, you could just say, here's the link for the PowerPoint and those handouts.
I said, the
Then-
best place to go right now for everybody would be the May 27th board meeting agenda minutes, which are
Right.
public domain. And then I will get the other documentation to you, yes.
All right, so we'll link, here's a link and it'll go right to your website. Probably the closest we can get is the PDF for that agenda. People will probably still have to click on the thing, but we'll get people to it, because I get a lot of people who are curious, what is that all about? And again, Jim, that was a priority of our empowerment group. Teachers said, well, for years, but especially last year, that we need some relief. We're collecting so much data, we don't have time to do anything with it. So we're trying to teach kids, and we gotta collect more data before we get the time to teach them. So we agreed to take that off as contract language. You know, we didn't bargain that. I think the district was very proactive and did a good job listening to teachers and doing that. But we'll monitor it during the year. At some point later on, we'll come back, we'll all get together October, December, sometime we'll get together.
Right.
And we'll be talking to our teachers during the year, asking, was that real relief? And what do y'all think of it?
Let's keep our fingers crossed that it is real relief.
Okay, check it.
Check. Comp time, page 3 of our language.
All right, yours
Yes.
is page 3.
Page 3, line 15.
Now, we did say it very differently. We tried to incorporate all your values that you gave us. And,
Where did you put that?
oh, yours on,
The back
ours on the
of the
back
page, on the back
side.
at the
Back
top.
side at the top.
Oh. Got that written. I
Now-
lost it out, I'm sorry, but all right.
Just to give a little history of what's doing there, we brought, if you look at our proposal, the top of the back side, we brought that first sentence. The right to charge comp time for non-instructional, non-professional development time should not be denied. That's what we were looking for at first. You all broadened this topic in a way that we kind of liked. Because for years, we've wanted it and been told no way. So, but now you all just opened that up, and we appreciate that.
Oh, wait a
That
minute.
for instructional time, Ron says, wait, take all that back.
I don't
No,
think that's right.
For instructional time, teachers have been told for years, well, you gotta at least take 4 hours or take a full day. So as long as we got into that discussion of it, we're happy to entertain that discussion. You're gonna see within our language, we probably are gonna caucus here for a little bit, just, we'll look at yours, you look at ours, we'll decide what we agree on and whatever. What we're trying to capture in your thoughts from our discussion, I'm thinking Dr. Respis particularly, but there was a lot of good discussion. We know you still have to give notice if you're going out on leave. We're not trying to create a situation where you just run out, heck, I got comp time, I'm leaving. No, we weren't trying to create that. Except in a medical emergency, because those happen anyway. If I gotta go run to school to get my kid, to another school to get my kid, we already have sick leave provisions, and that can happen without notice in medical situations. For personal leave, we don't want to lose that 2 days value, 2 days notice, hey, I want to take off a couple hours. We don't want to lose that 2 days. We don't want to, not do that. Where we saw the breakdown happen last time, y'all made a nice little flow chart. You said less than 4 hours, go get your own coverage. If we write that in language, we'd rather say you may be requested to get your own. We don't stop the principal from getting coverage for you, so, but that's close. More than 4 hours, we'll provide the coverage for you. Okay. But Dr. Respis was concerned about, just because you have that right, please don't take it during FCAT for end of course exams and things like that. So we talked about instructional time. We mentioned instructional time is not FCAT time or standardized testing time. So we don't want, that has still a medical emergency, we don't want people trying to take personal leave during, your testing time. Well, anyway, you guys will see what we tried to capture. We're not necessarily trying to get 1 hour increments. I'm just first glance at your thing, you're talking about 1 hour increments. We're not necessarily trying to get 1 hour increments, but we're capturing your value of less than 4 hours versus more than 4 hours. And we're trying to keep the value of notice. All right, let me just point out a couple typos in ours. And then we'll take a quick break and look at it. If you look at line 3, Arrange should be arranges. You could ask my team, I was going nuts with on all these typos. I was mad at myself, I was mad at myself for this. Okay, arrange should be arranges. In line 5, shall not be denied. And then on line 8 and 9, you'll see some smudges there. My team has told me those look a little bit like apostrophes for days. Just cross out those little smudges that were looking like apostrophes. Y'all let me get away with that? All right. So,
Our language has a mistake in it.
oh,
Your comma on line 6 too, Dan.
oh, like I say, Mike, there's a comma on line 6.
So you should.
Did that comma get approved?
No, it
It
should
Yes.
be.
It's a-
Yes.
And this language,
Comma.
Yes.
Okay. Oh, supersede is spelled wrong. We got a comma. Yeah, this is written by a fourth grader. I apologize.
No worries.
No, 1/7.
Okay,
Okay, in this language, comma, line 6, supersede. Darn computers. All right. You found, really?
I Googled it. It came up SEDE. I didn't think it was either, but I just Googled it a little while ago, and that's what came up.
That's successful?
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
It might be a
One less typo.
dual type stuff.
Yeah.
Either C or an S is acceptable.
Yeah, I.
Either a C or an S is acceptable. And now Susan found the rest of the typos.
Well,
Yes.
but if we're going to be very specific about the smudges, and you want the smudges out, then you have to hyphenate 2 days.
Correct.
I mean, I could keep the smudges in if I don't have to.
No, take the
No.
smudges
Take the
out.
smudges out.
Hyphenate it.
And just put it
So how would I do that?
along with
Two dash?
smudge.
After the 2, excuse me, TWO dash.
Okay, well, I put the 2 in parentheses. Why do we do that? Why do we put 2's in parentheses? We just do, that's our culture.
Yeah, I don't know why we do that either.
That's legally.
All right, legalese, okay, so put a legal dash in there. or-
Just put, replace the smudges with.
I know why we do,
different kinds of
we do the numbers because when you're scanning through the document, the numbers kind of pop out at you, but, all right. We got it.
okay, in our language, if you'll look at line 15,
Mhm.
compensatory time may be taken during non-instructional time. Insert the word non.
Professional
Well, that's a big difference right there.
It matches your
In
language.
non-PD. All right?
Well, see, I can already tell you, that doesn't really help much. Because on a day, oh, no, I'm serious.
That's what you proposed.
But I didn't have 1 hour, because here's the thing. The kids are here, the kids are in at, the kids are start the day, the bell rings 8:45. All right? So in all fairness to my employer and my job, because I care, I'm gonna take the first doctor appointment I can get in the morning. I'm gonna be at the doctor at 7:15 out in front of the doctor's office, so I get right in 7:30. All right? And what I care about is the doctor said I'll be in and out, and I'll be to work by 8:30. All right? I'm supposed to be there at 8, but I'm gonna be in 8:30. I'm earning this comp time by working 100 extra hours, and y'all granted me 2 hours, or whatever it is. You know, I'm working a 70-hour week, but here and there I get some comp. So let me just charge it to comp time. If I'm there from 8 to 8:30, if I'm coming in from the doctor, I'm half an hour late.
Okay.
Let me charge comp time.
So you want to use it in increments of what?
Whatever the increment is. If the kids weren't there and okay, but your language says 1 hour.
I ain't got no problem with that.
Well, your language says 1 hour. Your
All right.
language got a
I think
problem with
last
that.
week,
That's all we're
seriously,
asking.
last week I said we could change that to increments of 5 or 15 or 30 minutes.
What about whatever increment it happens in?
All right.
I'm not gonna fill out the form for 2 minutes, but if I'm
All
there,
right.
unless the principal wants to be petty and say, why were you 2 minutes late? But
Okay, so.
we got some out there, Ron.
So
that's not-
compensatory time may be
I know it.
taken during non-instructional time or non-PD time in any increments.
Yeah, that's kind of what we have. The right to charge comp time, right, maybe I should say how did charge get in there?
5 a month.
The right to utilize comp time during non-instructional, non-professional time should not be denied. That's what we're looking for. Now, another breakdown from last week was you put up a nice little chart and you kind of captured in language. Yeah, that word may in there. May means it doesn't have to happen. If we're going to agree today that, okay, if I'm half an hour during non-instructional time and I get to use my comp time for that, well, I don't want to hear I may get to use my comp time. I want to hear I shall be able to use my comp time. That's what we're asking for in contract language. We're not asking for, I can go to my principal, say, may I charge that to comp time? And my principal can tell me no. Dude, I was half an hour late because I went to the doctor, charge my comp time. That's kind of what we want. we'd be nicer about it. But.
Hey, Jen, can I just ask for a clarification? And I remember the conversation about the may, and I thought about it a lot after that, because I didn't read it the same way. To me means you may use comp time, but you don't have to use comp time, you can use some other kind of time. It doesn't imply permission to me. It doesn't say may or may not. It says may, you may use it. So I saw it more as you get to pick if you want to use it or not. You're not having to ask for permission.
Well, I appreciate that. We tend to, as teachers, we teach our kids that when they're asking permission for something, they say may. I mean, that's just our culture. And then within contract language, may implies may not.
And you're right, but this doesn't imply to me that you have to go to the principal and say, may I use comp time? It says you may use comp time.
It's granted permission.
To me, I didn't have the same interpretation, but that's,
It's granted permission.
it is already granted, you may use it. You may use it. You have to
Well,
have it.
well, then we're coming at it from the same angle, then if we just say that you're right will not be denied.
Right, I'm just gonna be pragmatic here. I mean, when I was a principal, you submitted a comp time form, whether the word shall or may is there or not, I can grant it or I can deny it. Are you saying with the word shall, I can't, that the comp time forms then won't allow us to deny it?
Correct.
You're a non-student.
If I'm, in that exact example I came up with, okay, you're my principal, you told me I gotta be to work at 8. You wouldn't say gotta be to work by 8, you'd say it in English, but, you know, I have to be to work at 8, and the students start 8:45. And this is the day I'm telling you, Mr. Hickey, I'm gonna be in at 8:30, I should be in by 8:30, I'm going to the doctor, and I want to charge my comp time from 8 to 8:30. Now, whether you are nice or not, whether you say yes or no or not, I'm still going to the doctor, I'm still gonna be in at 8:30.
Well, let me ask
You're
you.
still gonna have to charge me something.
Yeah, I get that. Let me
And I
ask-
want to tell you that it will be, this will be utilizing comp time.
Right.
And I don't want a principal to say, well, the contract says that you may use comp time, but I'm denying it.
Well, let me ask you the word, why I might want to put the word may back in there, and I know you want shall. What if your CMA group is meeting that day? What if there's a PLC meeting? What if there's a faculty meeting? I mean, I know we say we're putting in non-professional development. in there.
Here's the thing, I'm still going to the
I'm
doctor.
I'm
still going
got
to the
other
doctor.
things out there that people are needing to meet on.
Well, yeah.
What if the CMA says, why did you allow this person to miss the meeting, Mr. Hickey? Well, because now the word shall says I can't deny it, and now this person's not showing up to their CMA meeting.
It's not whether you allowed me to miss the meeting or not. I'm missing the meeting no matter what. I have to go to the doctor. You can't deny me going to the doctor. If I gotta get blood, if I gotta go get a spot checked out, if I gotta go get my head examined, I gotta go to the doctor.
Well, then I would
I'm
say-
trying to be nice about it, not take a whole day, charge you a sub, because I got plenty of teachers that, if we're gonna get snippy on comp time back and forth, I'll just take the day.
Now, what I would say as a principal is you could use personal charge to sick for an hour or 2 hours, or whatever that is, using your example.
I could also work my contract, but then the papers don't get graded. I mean, this is why we have comp time, to thank people for their above and beyond here and there. You take kids to a field trip on the weekend, you do this and that here and there. I'm gonna be cool, I'm gonna understand that if you have to go to the doctor, we're just gonna be nice about that, not charge you the sick leave.
You can see my concerns though, too.
Well, yeah.
You'd have to say that in your weakest moment, you'd have to see where we're saying that the word may would be important because of what I just said.
Well, kind of what you're admitting then is the opposite of what Susan was saying for clarification. You're trying to reserve as a principal the right to say, I'm not gonna grant that. If you're going to the doctor, then you take your doctor leave time.
Why don't we do this? We've heard you, you've heard us, why don't we caucus and talk a little bit about making sure that we,
I mean, most principals are gonna be okay. Most principals are gonna understand, if I'm so professional, and I mean that snark, that was kind of a bad way to start a sentence, but I'm professional enough that I'm not just gonna take the day. I can easily, we have got a lot of teachers out there, they could just schedule the doctor appointment at 11 o'clock in the middle of the day. And I could just take the day. I've got plenty of comp time, I never use it for anything. I'm just gonna schedule it in the middle of the day, I'm gonna take a day. I could use a day anyway. And a lot of teachers are gonna do that when morale is low and I'm stressed out, I can take the day, I've got them coming. We've got a lot of other teachers that say, look, I'm trying to do the right thing here. I'm trying not to impact student time. I don't wanna plan for a sub.
Dan, we get it.
So
We get it.
let us burn our comp time then. Because I tell you, most teachers out there, they end up with it left over at the end of the year. I'm certainly not asking permission to go to a doctor.
All right,
All right, well, Caucus, we'll talk.
Who gets the room?
Who gets the room? We had it for an hour and a half, so we'll go out and then, is that fair?
Yeah.
Did I just give something, all right, yeah, we got it.
We'll see you all in 3 minutes. 10 minutes? 15 minutes.
How we doing, Mr. Jim?
All right, Dan.
You like riding on the board, don't you? Oh, you chasing
Not
me
as
out
much
there.
as you do. Not as much as you do.
Oh, no, that.
No, we felt like we wanted to write on the board because obviously we made some mistakes. Yes, hey, gang. We wanted to write on the board because we wanted to make sure we were clear with our language and we knew we had made an error by leaving some things out. So we wanted to make sure folks understood where we were. But, all right, team, we talked about it. We're just not ready right now to insert the word shall. And I just want you to know, we just can't do it. We're ready to TA. While we were caucusing, we looked at all the other things. Then we can TA the strategic plan stuff. We can do TA the discretionary time. We're ready to move on. We'll just do all that. You might, if you could, you're going to have to give us the word may. And then we can TA it and we can move on and get on to salary. Oh, yeah, and you notice up there we inserted the word any increments. We put up there any increments. So we've given some, you're gonna have to give some. You get your notes.
Jim, we're interested in getting a contract tonight. I'm not interested in bringing my members another piece of contract language that means nothing. So we brought you comp time language. We thought we could do something with it. Don't take it personal, because I know y'all worked on it. Y'all did work on it with fidelity and good faith, but that doesn't give us anything we already have, which is basically the right to ask for something, be told no.
All right.
So we're gonna withdraw our comp time thing, and this won't be the last contract we ever negotiate, so we'll take another shot at that. So we withdraw our comp time offer, and I would ask that you withdraw it too. At least your count, I mean, I accept yours as a counter offer to our original offer, and I'm withdrawing our original offer, and we'll move on to other topics.
So you're just gonna take it off the table?
I'm gonna take it off the table.
All right. So it stays as is. Can I ask why?
That's no different than what is right now. Teachers can take comp time in any increment, 30 in our contract. They can already go to a principal and say, I earned it for you, I worked hard for you, may I please take it? And the principal can say no.
All right.
That doesn't help us at all to say I can write it again another sentence. That can be told no. That is a disappointment, but we've had enough positives so far that we're not going to dwell on the negative.
All right.
We're still looking at the front windshield, even if we hit a bug.
Okay.
All right, you had mentioned something else that was good.
Discretionary time, last day, ready to TA that.
Okay.
It's on your list.
It is on our list.
We're agreeing to it.
I've lost my list.
You've lost your list.
I've lost my, no, I got
Slide 23 on your list, and
Yeah,
I've got mine.
I've got a list for me, okay, here it is. No, yeah, no, I have, I had a copy with notes, although I want to have a clean copy to TA stuff. Okay, here we are. So we will TA 8.6. By the way, my list at the top says 8.4, I apologize, we're 8.6. I was excited to be here, so I did 2 days early.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Fair.
And in fairness to your principals, to say something good, I think most principals were doing that anyway. at least we're allowing that. I know the district supported principals that wanted to allow that anyway.
What's?
So now
Yes.
we'll just memorialize that in language.
Yes.
And we're good. Did I initial? Oh, maybe initial his, sorry.
Okay,
Thank you.
all right.
Thanks, Barry.
Dan, we're ready to TA, if you're ready to TA, the MOU for strategic plan.
I'm checking here. Okay.
That's
strategic.
lines,
This is, I'm looking at your document?
okay?
Yeah,
Yeah.
but your document, my document was the same, mine had,
Yep.
so mine had some
Exact
process.
same.
So let's go with how you wrote it,
Okay,
just you have it typeset better.
so that is in our document on page,
3.
Thanks, Barry.
page 3. But hold on, before we, hold on. Let's make sure we're clear on this. Remember, it rides, that MOU rides with the very first part on line 4 through line 8.
Where were you looking?
On our language, Dan, right here, the very first thing, remember, look at what we got there. We're scratching out 6 of 7 and just leaving secondary teachers are eligible for an optional class differential if elected to teach a 7th period. This assignment is on a voluntary, regular, daily basis and is limited to the circumstances listed below, which is the contract. And when we had talked about this early in the summer, we did an MOU, which we're agreeing to right now because of that.
All right, we all
Remember,
got
we
it?
agreed, and you agreed that we need to get that out of the contract. We needed to get 6 or 7 out of there. You even have said publicly that you don't want it there either. So that's why we put this language across. We want to get it out, but we want to make sure you all are TAing and understanding that that means we're also TAing lines 4 through 8.
Well, we're TAing it all with money, so we can't wait to your salary. So I've got my paper right here. It's gonna be one of those all wrapped up at the end.
All right, so we're going to wait to the end?
We're gonna wait and see salary and see if it's something I can take people to ratify. You know how big a topic that is. And we haven't, I mean, this, let me say the good with this. For years, we've been coming to the table, at least the 8 years I've been doing this, and saying teachers need to find more planning time. Excuse me, not teachers, teachers know where planning time is. It's, the district needs to provide more planning. We've been saying that for years. So the fact that the board is moving towards saying, or moving towards a commitment to saying, we're going to find it, and we're ready to put out that challenge to teachers, principals, schools all over, hey, tell us what you're doing, let's collect best practices, let's talk all year and find out how people are finding more planning time, so that by next year, we're ready to get those 100 minutes, but even sooner, start putting practices in place. This is big movement for the district and the board, we acknowledge that, that's really good. All right. So I don't want to take away from any of that positivity here as we go into the rest, and I want to dwell on the rest. But you know how big that 6 or 7 was.
Well, I also know it splits your, you've been through your exercise.
It splits through in
It's
three ways.
1/3 of your constituency is
Unglued over that.
Yeah, whereas, I get it. So we'll wait, we'll look at salary, hopefully everything will be kumbaya at the end and we can get this done.
Hopefully I have a salary where I can say, here's what I want,
Right.
and we're getting close because we got next Monday is kind of a special day in the county.
Yep.
I want to be able to tell teachers that y'all really did do the best of what you could do. That's what I want to be able to tell teachers. It's up to you all, but that's where we are. So some things are going to be wrapped up right at the end. So
Okay.
we agree that the language looks like it's written right if that's what we're going to go with. I have no more grammar or issues with that.
Okay. All right.
And please pass along our appreciation, as I know you already have, that movement is taking place.
Okay. Top of your the top of your to-do list, grandfather scale. You wanted, the district owes us the answer key.
Does that make any sense?
No, I get it. I know what you mean.
All right, how'd we do?
All right. You all did fine. However, it's not the discussion I want to have. I do want to have a discussion over it, but your all's is not the discussion I want to have right now. Let's you and I look in the rearview mirror. I'll look in the rearview mirror for a change. Dan, it was 3 years ago, 4 years ago, I can remember my predecessor sitting here working with you, I think it was you, because in our contract, we had 2 schedules. And I want to take you back, because remember, we had a schedule for folks who moved in from out of county. And Vicky's shaking her head because she knows that. There was a schedule there that showed folks who moved in out of county versus those who were in our district and had worked with us.
That was never printed in the contract like that.
Well,
There was one schedule in the contract that was not accurate for everybody.
of course.
There was one schedule, there was not.
It was, I want to say it was there because I can remember my predecessor pounding on the fact that we got to get it out of there. Because here's the example of what I want to say, and this is why I don't want to put down what you had and insert it into our contract. And you use an example that's been used 1,000 times. If I've got 10 years' experience and I'm working in North Carolina and all of a sudden I decided I want to move to Brevard County, all right? Because the way our salary schedule is set up right now, that person coming in from North Carolina with 10 years' experience, they're going to come to our district and we're automatically, because of where we are with our schedule that's printed in our contract, we're going to deduct 4 years from their experience. Because that makes it commensurate with our salary schedule. You get what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So in other words, it's a turnoff, and the reason we tried to get it out of the contract is because it was causing a lot of confusion and a lot of heartburn for people who say, I automatically had 10 years' experience in North Carolina, moved to Brevard, and they took 4 years away from me. Well, we didn't take 4 years' experience away from you. We took 4 years away from you so that we could make sure that you didn't come in and leapfrog over any of our folks who are here. Because our salary schedule that we have printed in our contract is where it is. And it was causing a lot of people not wanting to come to Brevard or saying it will, or you know what I'm saying, it just caused a lot of confusion. So we got it out of the contract. And now we have one salary schedule. And when people call us up and they say, hey, I'm moving to Brevard, where do I fit on your salary schedule? We don't have it published anywhere because we don't want to share that with somebody. We give them what it is that I've just shared with you verbally over the phone. Does that make sense? So that's why we want to grandfather the scale that we have published. We don't want to put something in there where we have 500 different scales of people coming in and saying, if you're from Orange County, you get this. If you're from North Carolina, you get this. If you have this many years' experience, and all that mess, because it just creates a huge nightmare for you and for me.
Well, it's not so much a nightmare for me.
Well, but
But we
people
haven't-
people do call you up and say, hey, I can't find out in the contract where I'm supposed to be aligned with the year's experience I have, blah, 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 blah. I remember you
Well,
all saying that at the table. Was it
Here's our
not?
chance to do the right thing. Here's what I think we agreed to with this new law.
Right.
Okay, we're all on differentiated pay anyway. Going to be.
We're gonna be.
Going to be.
Yes,
No
we
matter
are.
how, whether it's a model that you all presented in the
Yes.
past couple of weeks, whether it's one we go with last week, we're all gonna be differentiated pay. So there's no more saying, I have 12 years' experience, let me go look to a chart.
Well, we have to start somebody somewhere.
Right. I mean, I'm sorry, if I'm a current
Yes,
teacher.
yes.
If I'm not coming in, if I've been here for 12 years, and next year's gonna be my 13th year, and 5 years from now is gonna be 5 more years than that, 18, 17, whatever it is, whatever example I'm coming up with. It's gonna be a letter plus whatever raises, salary adjustments, whatever the law allows, plus a supplement on top of that,
I'm
if we
with
all
you on
negotiate
that.
that, all right?
All right.
We are all differentiated pay.
Yep.
So we know off in the future, even if 2 teachers started their careers at Brevard County 20 years ago, they're not gonna have the same pay unless they got exact same supplements and adjustments and
Right.
both worked in Title I schools. I mean, it's gonna be, it's all, we're on differentiated pay, we know that.
Yep.
It's gonna be at least 56 different salary schedules next year. I didn't just make that up. It's gonna be at least 56 different salary schedules next year, no more 14. The only value left to this, is for new placements to know where they go. That's it. Now, here's something else that we agreed to. Your proposals, you've given us your models, my models we've given you, back and forth. Not a one of us talked about moving a step. That just can't happen. By law, it's just not gonna happen. We didn't take, a couple years ago, we didn't smooth out steps, we stopped moving steps. We're just putting raises. Even last year, we got the governor's money. We said, everyone, keep your step, you get 1,300 more. So you get a raise. If people say, what about my step? You got more money.
Right. I agree with
Okay?
that, yeah.
So we didn't bother doing that. Okay, some people are gonna get the one step, which is $100, some people get the other step. No, that was our value, that's what we're doing.
And your team understands all that.
Right, we get that. Yeah, we get that. So that means this is another year that we're frozen in step. That means people coming in, you could be subtracting 5 years' experience from it to make them commensurate to
No,
where
we
we
can
are.
always subtract.
Well, if we're frozen another step next year because we all get raises, I mean, that's what this law is all about. This law is about no more steps. This law is about every year raise, every year raise, every year raise, every year raise. So someday we could have someone coming in with their 14 years' experience, you're gonna put them on step O. Where are they gonna be? Because the superintendent testifies before the board that we get to the top of the scale in 14 years. He's done that
believe that wherever
he's
they
done
come
that
in.
two impasses in a row.
The way it's been explained to me is wherever they come in, we subtract 4, because we want to keep them
From
commensurate
what?
with
From what? Somewhere there's a chart that you know where they go.
what's in our contract. So take it and subtract 4.
4 from which number in the contract? Find the contract. Which number in the contract do we subtract 4 from?
If,
There's no years of experience in the contract.
all right.
The law wants a grandfathered salary schedule to know where to place people. That's all our salary schedule is good for, so know where to place people. That's it. People can't even look at this and say, hey, I'm on step D, is that what I make? No, you're not on step D, that's not what you make. You make this plus whatever raises we're about to negotiate. So you might be on step D 5 years from now and be making 8,000 more than this or 10,000 more, you're gonna be making more than this. So the only value left to this is gonna be a vestigial document, a piece of language, and someone's gonna say, wow, am I still on E? No, you'll be past that. The only value to that will be where are people placed. So there should be some openness to it. Other counties have it. If I go to Orange County, I go, hey, I got 20 years, I want to go to Orange County, what do I get paid? I can look at the document and see 20 years, I get paid that. So I think, it seemed nonsensical when you all just took it out. What would that hide the numbers for?
No, you all keep saying we took it out, we agreed to take it out.
No.
I've been on this.
No, y'all
phone
brought it
for
to the
8
table.
years.
No, y'all brought it to the table. We
Yeah.
disagreed, then you imposed.
Well, all right, I'm not gonna sit here.
You did, that was an imposed thing. That was, in fact, I think the next contract that was printed said by imposition, we're taking out these numbers. It was not anything the union wanted.
All right. So where are we with this?
That's parking lot. Y'all brought that dysfunction on yourselves.
I mean,
Would you? You just came up with a good compromise. Yeah, actually, Vicky came up with a good thought here. Are you gonna tell us if we got our homework right? So if someone were to call us and say, I just got here from Tennessee.
No, we wouldn't,
I just got here from Tennessee, I got 15 years' experience, this is where they put me.
no.
Can my union tell me if they put me in the right spot?
No, that's a managerial decision, so no, we wouldn't, I'm not saying yes or no to Vicky's comment. I'm just not saying yes or no to it.
I'd like to verify I got put on the right part of the salary schedule.
I hear you. You've heard
I just
me,
got here.
you've heard my response. We're putting in a parking lot. I've said it's a managerial decision.
It's an interesting stand to take,
Well,
but
it's the way it is.
that does not mean withdrawal. That means it's in the parking lot. I don't know what a parking lot is, but it's there.
Well, you said the word parking lot.
Yeah, I know.
We're moving on, so
We're moving on.
we're moving on.
Action. We said parking lot, meant something, I don't know what it ever meant.
Okay, you have down here, items on notice. Union has 3 information items, no action required by the district. What's all that about?
What, I gotta check this off. I'm sorry, Jim, I'm trying to keep
Yeah.
score here. I'm trying to check off what we get done. Items on notice, right, this is, oh, thank you. Let me get my notes in the right spot. When we get together as a bargaining team, and Debbie gets empowerment group together, we have to decide what fixes, changes, I mean, you know the process, we have to figure out what we want to bring to the table, right? And sometimes stuff will get brought up, say, hey, this isn't right, so we go start thinking about, we start dreaming about contract language, here's how you fix it and all that. And sometimes we'll realize that the problem isn't that we need more language, it's that we have language, and it's just not being upheld right, or enforced right, all right? And there's this legal situation, legal term called practice sometimes that ends up creeping into grievances and things. When we try to solve a situation, and we find out that's the way it's always been. Now, I'll just give an off the wall, it's our lawyer on the phone. I'll just give an off the wall example. All right, let's say we've got a baseball coach, and he's been baseball coaching for 20 years. And then one day he gets to reading his contract and realizes, this is supposed to be a supplement for baseball coach? He's never received a supplement for baseball coach. And then he comes to his union after 20 years of never receiving a supplement. Well, it's not that we needed contract language for a supplement. It's we needed to uphold the contract. And this guy's been doing it for 20 years, never knew. Well, if we start grieving he never got it, the first argument you're going to bring up is that's the practice. We've never done that. Even though it's in the contract, we've never paid it. So we have to be careful to make sure that we don't let practices creep into our culture with our contract. So the first step to making sure that we're defending our contract is we put you on notice. I'm going to bring 3 pieces of language to your attention, and I'm just telling you that we're going to be keeping an eye on this here. We're not completely happy with the way that both the district and the union have upheld these pieces of contract language, and we're going to educate our members on this. And if we have to bring issues forward, we'll go through that process. Hopefully it's a matter of telling you or telling Deborah, or telling Rhonda to tell you, tell Deborah. Hopefully we get it solved without the whole grievance and everything, but I want to make you aware of these 3 pieces of contract language. All right? 6D11. A couple years ago, the district, it's the lesson planning part. 6D11. A couple years ago,
Hold on a second. Let's get it over.
we actually have a TA on another part of it, I think.
There's some plans on
We actually talked about the DA, DNF.
Page 27.
We actually already explored this one. And y'all put in at the bottom DA schools as well as the DF schools? All right. Your predecessor brought to the table the beginning of that paragraph. It talked about the lesson plans are required, we already had that, but reflect the standards and the essential elements. And I asked at the time, I said, what is this essential element thing? I wanted to list out specifically, here's what these things are. I got kind of a slippery answer. I thought, well, if we list them out, then I said, tell us what the essential elements are. From our bargaining notes, we agreed to, and bargaining notes hold up in arbitration. From what we got in our bargaining notes, the essential elements are the standards, the objectives, the procedures, the materials, and the assessments. So we know we have to have the standards, we know we have to have the objectives, the procedures, the materials, and the assessment. That's a piece of contract language, and we agree to it. But we hear about principals requiring all kinds of things above and beyond that. And so we're just putting you on notice that if we hear about principals handing out formats and saying this is what you have to do. I'm not going to get into nuances between what's highly effective, above and beyond, suggested, recommended, best practice. Not going to get into that. If we hear about teachers getting in trouble for not having above and beyond, then we're going to defend our piece of contract language. The next is Article 6, letter I, number 4. That's the 2 meetings.
Okay, hold on a second. Do you have a page number?
I'm sorry, no, I don't. I just have it marked down. We'll get it in a second here. Vicky's furiously flipping pages.
Page 33.
Page 33, okay.
34.
Oh, wait, hold on, no, 38.
Oh, it's
38.
big eye. It's big eye.
And what is it, Dan?
And this comes from the 2 meetings per week.
What?
I'm sorry, page 38, it's the top of page 38, it's 6I4.
Okay.
And this comes from, this was language we actually brought, and we got it, and we're good. If principals schedule a faculty meeting and a PLC, that's fine. That counts as 2. If they say meet with your team and a faculty, that's good, that's 2. If a parent comes in and wants to talk to a teacher, we know that doesn't count. We're not going to count an IEP meeting, we're not going to count that. But here's what we found at just a couple places, and it got sticky. Principal assigned 2 meetings, all right? And then the principal would go to the team leaders and say, I need the notes from your team meeting. I need your notes, I need to know who was there, I need the sign-in sheet, your agenda, what was discussed. And boy, that sounds a whole lot like there was another meeting required in there somewhere, and principals would get away
So
with.
say that again. I'm not trying to be difficult.
All right,
Say
principal
that again.
schedules are 2 meetings. Let's say it's 2 faculty, I don't know who does 2, but let's
All right,
say
2
it's I schedule 2 faculty, one Monday morning, one Tuesday morning.
All right,
Regularly scheduled, there they are.
okay.
And then the principal tracks down the team leader later in the week and says, I need the notes from your team meeting. I need to know the agenda, I need to know the notes, I need to know this, I need to see the sign-in sheet. Okay, now that to us sure smells like there was another meeting assigned by the principal.
Okay.
The principal would say, no, I never assigned another meeting, I just said I want to see the note, they didn't have to meet with me. They could meet wherever they wanted to meet, whenever they wanted to meet. But boy, it sure sounds like another meeting was just assigned. So we're going to defend that piece of language because that somehow became the practice, and it was a little slippery to try to stomp on that. Stomp it, just forgive me for my language, but it was a little hard to try to stop that where it happened. And we hear teachers talking about, I'm meetings all the time. So you shouldn't be in meetings all the time. Well, right, I'm in 2 with my principal, and all these other ones, I got agendas and sign-ins and everything. And then the third has to do with Article 14. Hey, that's Susan's article. 14, B1B1. Who finds the page first?
50.
Page 50. Thank you. And basically it talks about, here's what sick leave is for. And it gets into illness of a disabled, and it gets all things, who in your household might be sick. It goes on to page 51 where it talks about illness and death, God forbid, but it lists out all sorts of people, an aunt and uncle, all sorts of people. So anyway, these are your reasons for taking sick
Are you
leave.
talking about usage now, or are you?
Right, usage. Here's all the different reasons that you could use sick leave. Here's the practice that we need to stop. I'll give a specific example. I'm even going to name, no, I'm not going to name the person. Because this happened 2-3 times last year. The practice that needs to stop is teacher's done something that needs to be investigated. Okay? Let's say they've done something on a Monday. So they get their letter, they're sent home administrative paid leave pending investigation, they go home Monday, they call their union, and when are we going to meet? We can't meet till Tuesday or Wednesday. All right? The district is going to assign some kind of sanction, or maybe nothing, but the examples we came up with, there's some kind of sanction, there's some kind of something going to come down the line. All right? Well, what's going to happen to those days in limbo, that Tuesday that they weren't allowed to be there, right, because they're on administrative leave, or even that Wednesday that they're being investigated, or perhaps part of the outcome in lieu of termination, they're going to take a suspension day Thursday or Friday, an unpaid day, whatever. And so we write out this letter that says in lieu of termination, you're going to have 2 days unpaid leave, 3 days unpaid leave, whatever it's going to be. But what about those days of the investigation? And we have a practice that the employee is told, you're taking those as sick days.
So they're out more than 3 days.
Right. Well, let's say they're out 3 days unpaid leave, but it took us 2 days to investigate and assign something. we're gonna charge your sick leave for that. This sick leave is governed by law. This piece of contract language right here comes straight out of law, what sick leave can be. I don't know if we expanded on the law, I don't know if we added more relatives to it.
It looks identical to the statute.
It looks a whole lot like the statute, right? We can't decide here locally, I did something, I shouldn't have done it, I have to be investigated, I'm not at work today, I'm taking a day's sick leave.
I get it.
And the district can't assign that to me.
And we
Now,
can't say that you're sick in lieu of suspension.
right, I can't be sick in lieu. Now, if there wants to be part of the deal, then you can charge your comp time, you want to charge personal leave and sick leave, they kind of overlap in some ways, they're
They're in the
different,
same
but,
bucket.
yeah. But we can't, we're not assigning sick leave.
So, I want to make
When you're
sure
not
I'm clear,
sick.
because I want to be clear with you all. I would not, as the new person in charge of this, allow that to happen. If we're going to put somebody out on suspension for 3 days, then we're bringing them back to work on the 4th day. And if they have to be out on the 4th day, then we're putting them out suspension, you know what I'm saying? I'm not going to have them charged, be told that they have to take sick.
Mhm.
You're right, that's not fair, that's not right, and you know what? You can call me up, and if that happens, then you and I are in agreement.
Now, I'm not saying that was not meant to assign blame
I
or
get it.
fault, or that was not a character assault on anybody. But that, somehow that became, when a couple people asked us, it was more than one, a couple people asked us about this year. How did that little detail get in there? And we discussed it with some folks, and it turns out, yeah, that's how it's been happening and so we're gonna put it on notice that we're not gonna do it that way.
All right.
We're gonna get back into sick leave being when you're sick. So anyway, that's just on notice, so I didn't mean to negotiate, I'm not negotiating new contract
No,
language.
you're
on
just
that. I'm
saying that
making
you're
it
gonna,
work.
I get it. You're doing the right thing. You're letting us know that these are the 3 things that you guys are giving us a heads up on. And I'll make sure that our principals understand that they need to make sure that they follow closely, that they don't break the contract.
Okay, thank you, sir.
That's easy. All right. So we've withdrawn comp time, and planning
sir.
time and grandfather scale, we've got in the parking lot. Everything else we've checked off except for salary and health plan, and ratification and future bargaining.
And you have a piece of 6 to 7 language too, I'll put that on my list.
But that's
just so-
part of the planning, that's part of the
Okay.
planning time.
Okay. I'd like to add something to planning time too. This will cost you nothing. I don't know if we need contract language, or if you want to tell us this, or say it, or whatever. But oh man, I leave here, these tapes go up, I put out an update, I get, my email blows up. And then Richard takes to Facebook, and Facebook blows up. A lot of people say, eat more early release. They wouldn't do it. They're not doing it. They're not budging. We'll talk about it for next year, but they're not budging. And so I get the email back, make them budge. Okay, they're not budging. And they say, what about those training days that they have professional development? I say, well, they got all this new gee whiz software, we gotta learn how to use that, and that's just when they already penciled in that they're going, was it the Progo and the other stuff, that's when they wanna do that. And so then I hear, and it sounds perfectly logical, they say, okay, when they're done with that. When they're done training us on the Progo, or, I don't even know that's the name of the thing.
Performance Matters.
Performance Matters. Progo, what is that?
Program's a different one, but
It's not
yes.
fertilizer, okay.
Yeah.
So when they're done training us on the new bits of software, how about then? We have whatever early release days are left are ours. I mean, some of those are in the spring. You're gonna train us how to use the software before the spring. So how about that as something? Trying to get teachers planning time.
Dan, we've already had discussions over this.
Not those spring professional
Yes, we
development
have.
days.
You're talking about, when you say professional development, you're asking for more early release days.
No, I'm not asking for more. I'm talking about the early release days
Yeah.
that are already there. You guys control some of those for professional development, and some of those are teacher time.
Yeah.
And when teachers say, how about all of them be teacher time, and says some of them professional development, I say, well, they already booked the first couple ones for software, to teach us how to use the software. And they say, what about the ones in the spring? What about the rest of them? By the spring, we'll know how to use the new software. So how about those? You've got like 2 or 3 in the spring that are assigned professional development. You could give us those.
You just now decided that you'd bring this to us to discuss this?
Well, yeah. Well, actually, we talked about it before. That's not more, you gave me a long, passionate discussion last time about bus schedules and notifying parents, and
Oh,
that's why you
yeah.
didn't want to add more.
Right.
And then you gave me a discussion about software and the needs of training, and that's why the fall was important.
Okay.
But maybe you'll think about the spring, those couple professional development days, let those be teacher time.
Okay. We'll think about it.
Okay? We gotta think about it.
I'm smiling now. Are we kind of down now, whittling down on your
That's
list?
all I got?
Are you sure?
Probably. What else do I got?
Is there anything else?
I dream up something. No, it's
That's all that's on the list.
All right, so we're
Should
going
we
to think
make up
about, we need to think about,
money. Yeah, money. I recall from the crowd. Money.
okay, think about early release days.
After software.
All right.
It's your show.
Let's talk about health plan first. All right, let's get that cleared up. I thought you all did a great job, and you all had a reasonable request, and it was very, very reasonable. I did not know until you all brought it to our attention. I don't even think Susan knew until it was brought to her attention of what you all were faced with, what our employees are faced with when they're, married and working, both of them working in our system. So Susan, why don't you lead off and tell them the good news?
Okay.
It's-
Stole my thunder.
I will.
Oh, we'll start over.
It's okay, I wouldn't listen to it.
When the subject came up at the end of the last meeting, it's a very reasonable concern. Basically, since our married employees have to enroll in 2 different tiers, they're subject to two different out-of-pocket maxes, which could equal $12,000 in a very bad year. So when that subject came up, 2 questions popped into my head. The first question was, would our third-party administrator be able, can they administer something like that? So when the claims are sent in, they're managed properly to a max of 8,000. If they can't, what do they need to do to be able to do that? That's a more tactical question, and the good news is they can do that now. It will require some programming on our part to feed data correctly, but it's all doable. The second question is, of course, always, what is the cost to the trust fund? Intuitively, we all believe that it's not monumental. I do have our benefits consultants working with Cigna to get us the exact numbers. I don't have them. But given the legitimacy of the concern, even if it happens only one time, it's a very large amount of money for a family to have to deal with. So we're willing to step out of our comfort zone, not knowing the dollar amount, and offer to put a cap of 8,000 on out-of-pocket expenses for a married household.
All right.
When they're both our employees, a married household when they're both our employees, of course.
Thank you.
Well, thank you.
So,
Thank you.
we're done.
How do we
That's
take-
good.
You want to TA the bullet point right there? I mean, you'll just do it.
If it'll make you feel good, I'll tell you.
I mean, you'll just put it, I mean, I just said, put it in the chart somewhere,
Yeah.
wherever it fits properly in a
We
chart.
didn't know that until Michelle had brought that to our attention. That's
And I
how
mean,
we-
this isn't something that, I mean, this is a great step. And I'm not asking for this to be changed either, but, there's a $150 individual and a $300 family like to go to a chiropractor or something like that. That's jumping up to $1,500 or something. There's gonna be 2 deductibles for the pharmacy. Those things are double for me and my husband.
We're good with that.
I'm literally TAing the bullet point, if you care to initial yours.
All right.
And, it just says put in the chart, so thank you, Susan, thanks for looking into that.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Barry, for jumping, springing to action there. Yeah, we're running out of stuff, Jimmy. Jimmy, we're talking money quick before we make up another thing to,
Make him happy. All right, Dan.
you
I'm
TA
gonna talk a little
Barry's-
bit more about insurance.
Thank you.
All right, you've tasked our whole team the whole summer long with coming out of our comfort zone. And we get that. We understand what that really means, that we've sometimes not got to be as conservative and tight as perhaps you'd like us not to be. We're going to try to loosen up a little bit here. And so we want to talk a little bit about health plan, but I want to preface this talk with you guys so that, because the one thing that the school board members are wanting to make sure that you all at least give them a little credit on, and I agree, is that healthcare is a big deal. You've even got some people sitting in the audience, people like you who sat on that committee, people on our team have sat on that committee, understand that healthcare costs are going up. Never, ever will I think that I will live long enough to ever see someone say that, health costs in America are going to go down. That's not going to happen. We have moved from, and you were part of that committee, I think it's the band outside practice. Being the former principal, I know that.
I was the ice cream
I
truck, I
know
was
what
ready to run
that is.
outside.
I lived through that. It's the band practicing out back.
We were gonna caucus by the ice cream truck.
Just enjoy the ambiance. I want you to know it's part of that. It's the hawk band out there. But what I want to say is this. You know that we've got to make contributions of about $140 to insurance. We started off at the beginning of the summer with 70 being paid by the board, 70 being paid by the employee. We moved from 70 to 50, right?
Greatly appreciated, yes.
Well, today we're coming off our comfort zone. We're moving from 50 to 35. That means over half is being contributed by the board, Dan. Now, I know that you all like to look sometimes at just salary. We get that. But this board wants to make sure that everyone understands that it's also about health insurance. And when we moved from 70 to 50, and we're now moving from 50 to 35, remember that is a ton of money in which the board, remember, it's paying for you guys, which will keep money in your all's pockets at each month, which in a way is compensation. Instead of it paying towards insurance, you're now getting to use that towards something else.
Is the board increasing their 70? Are they increasing their 70, $15?
No. Right, still going to July 1. Right, you heard that. Okay,
I hear you.
you hear me?
I mean, I appreciate that. Go tell everyone we appreciate that. It didn't cost the board anything, though. If they're not throwing in more money, it means our projections came in a little better. But I mean, that's good. That's good news. Let me accept good news without arguing. But all right.
Well, you know that you've been on that committee.
I think I'm getting a note, yeah.
Yeah, I do. You've been on that committee, and you know that there may be ways in which there could be money saved, money used to shore up the trust, which we can then put back in towards the employees.
Okay.
You get how that all works. You've been, as you said, on that committee, right? So that's what the board is saying. Look, if we can find additional dollars, which we think we can, we're going to move it and keep it and let the employees have it. Right?
Well, okay.
Okay.
So continuing health insurance talk, the proposal now is for employees starting January 1,
$35.
35 a month instead of 50.
And you're not having to pay anything until January 1st.
I'm gonna put notes down here, okay? So 2 bits of good news out of health insurance.
Check that off your list. I know you haven't agreed to it, we haven't TD'd anything, but now let's talk salary.
For discussion, we could say we.
Well, I mean, we've discussed
We
it, I
did.
think you all would agree that that's those are good positive steps.
That's good
in the right
news.
direction. Okay, we're gonna put our salary proposal across the table. And of course, I'm gonna let Judy and I, and of course myself, talk a little bit about it. We're gonna get to the point, understand it, you know. Now,
You do what
I'm
you
gonna
gotta do.
preface this, well, I'll let it come across the table and then we'll talk a little bit about it.
Okay, before we hand it out, I'm gonna say the same thing we said the last time, and that is that we appreciate your work. The reason we headed down the path of something into a salary schedule and something into a supplement was precipitated by y'all's original proposal. I'm sure Dan and members of the team have seen a lot of different versions about the way different districts are handling this. So I wasn't surprised when you came back with a different kind of venue that Michelle had done and others probably have done some work on, because there's a lot of different ways we can approach this. And as we move forward, we may migrate to another model over time and over the years because of this subdividing of umpteen salary schedules that we're not going to be having. You know, it's going to be difficult to keep track of and to be able to post in writing. So I want to emphasize, and I'm going to go through it the same way I did the last time we put a proposal on the table. We've got to agree upon the model. So what we've done is we've taken what you presented the last time at the table, we've converted it into a model, because it's the model that we'll want to print into the contract. We can't print exact dollar amounts that everybody's going to receive because we don't know what those are yet. We can certainly give examples and that we can use in our communication and so forth, but we have to agree upon the model first. So I am going to have some folks help in terms of handing this out so we can kind of walk through.
Thanks, sir. There we go. I think that captured it. Actually, I can look at the 2 seconds. Yeah, this is it. This is,
Now, whenever we consider again what would be printed in the contract, I felt like there really needs to be the two different salary schedules. The grandfathered salary schedule with some different versions, and the pay for performance salary schedule. The issue is that, as we talked about before, again, defining the model with using X for effective and Y for highly effective, that would be the unit value. And certainly, again, we followed suit with what we've been talking about over time, that the effective would be equivalent to 75% of the highly effective. In essence, we interpreted what you guys had across the table correctly. On the grandfathered side, you would have the 3-column structure with the effective just adding X to each one of the values, people moving horizontally. If it's highly effective instead, you would add Y. Over on pay for performance, again, beginning at the same point, because that's where your new hires will actually go. Your effective, I'm sorry, we have a mistake here. It should say just plus X. I'm sorry, that's why we ran in over here late, because we were trying to get this done. It should say just plus X, and the plus ones should be in the highly effective column.
You see that,
So,
Dan?
in
Just
the
move that.
effective column, it should say each one of the letters plus just X. And then over in the far right-hand column, each one of the Ys should say the plus 1. Carrying into line with what you guys had presented, that no matter which way you go, the effective would make the same dollar amount, but the highly effective on the pay for performance would make the dollar extra, and that meets the letter of the law about it being more.
just so we all know, and I'm sorry I know this is rude what I'm doing, but just so we all know, this is the model that we gave you. I mean, I understand y'all had to make it your own, and because you got to run numbers and things. But this is optimistic, at least, in that we're not now going to have to argue a philosophy of how to do this, because you've captured what we did.
We're accepting your model.
Yeah, this is it. I mean, only minor differences, and this is not at all a deal breaker, I just want to point out, we had highly effective first in the first, I mean, that doesn't matter.
Right.
And And we had
His
grandfathers
business
down the
did.
schedule too.
Well, we just felt like in
this is
reading
fine.
it from left to right, people
Yeah.
would more naturally look
And-
at the
and that's
higher
fine.
number as they go
Right,
along.
I say that even when I argue, I say that just to point out, this is good. This is
Yes,
good that
we're
you've
accepting
captured.
your model.
You've captured what was the VFT, Michelle idea. So,
Okay, and we can very quickly correct that. I apologize for the
Yes,
mistake.
your numbers.
We were trying, again, to focus on getting a model where we would have something that we could all agree upon, that would be the language into the contract. The second thing, as we talked about, was, of course, the dollar
Mhm.
amount that worked through this model. So I have another handout, and it's going to have it's going to have that same mistake.
Three handouts.
3 handouts. Like a joke.
So
First handout, walk into
we're
a
gonna have to
park.
correct the the $1 issue.
Yes, we do.
But it's the chart at the bottom that I want you to focus on. And you gave it away.
Now, this is,
If
this
you
is
notice
page 2
the
of
chart.
3? Is that what I'm looking at, page 2 of 3?
Again, we'll make the same correction at the top with the plus $1, moving it from the affected column over to the highly affected column. But it's the chart at the bottom that I'll bring your attention to. You had asked us to, again, go back, look, break out of that comfort zone, as Susan said, and as Jim did too. And we have done that. You've seen the numbers up until now. You know how we presented it to the board. The one thing is we continue to look. You'll see a couple of changes here that I want to point out to you. Number one, we are raising the dollar amount that we're putting out there into the adjustments. Of course, the supplements now have taken on a totally different venue. We confined it to just that first category that we were talking about, our teacher leaders, some of the others, and I'll come back to that later. But of course, the majority of the money would be into salary adjustments. If you're going back and you're comparing to the last time we put a proposal across the table, we've increased that first dollar of $500,000. We've done a number of things there. What we have done is we've gone back and looked in the system, for example. We find that there are some vacant bus drivers that we have not taken advantage of this past year, and Arby and his staff are looking very, very closely at it to confirm that we can do without those for the coming year, so that we would eliminate those particular positions. That gives us a little bit of extra recurring dollars that we absolutely can put into this salary proposal. So in essence, if you're just coming down to that second shaded line for the salary proposal, you'll see that originally it was a little below 4.7 million. It is now 5.2 million. The next line I want to draw your attention to, because if you're comparing side by side, you're going to see there's a change. On the health insurance, we have gone back and we have reanalyzed another thing that we look closely at, and we find that the number of employees that were within taking advantage of our health insurance that we absolutely are putting in premiums for is lower than what we had originally used in our estimate. Now, because of that, we have corrected that first number to $1.8 million, but we left the second number the same because we committed that we would go ahead and make sure that we put in the 2.1 million during this first 6 months. And we are doing that from non-recurring sources, and those non-recurring sources are available. So we are taking the standpoint of looking at that. The grand total at the bottom does not include what we're required to put in for the mandated state retirement increase. If I added that, it would actually take us up almost another $1 million, which means we would exceed the $10 million mark. But it is, what we have done here is to basically take additional dollars, and in some cases, Dan made reference earlier about insurance. Well, if you will, we redirected dollars that would have gone into insurance when we looked at the number of employees, and we pushed that back up into the salary adjustment. We also took advantage of, like I said, some vacant bus driver positions that we're going to purge out of the system, looking at recurring dollars to affirm that we could continue on as we move forward. Now, I have a sample for you. Again, I have to emphasize, as you guys well know, one of the hardest things that we're going to have to deal with, and this is everybody at this table, people in the audience, people listening, one of the hardest things we're going to have to deal with is we can't tell employees the exact dollar amount that they're going to earn. We don't know the number of highly effective. We don't know the number of effective. We feel like we have a pretty good handle on the number of supplements, but as Dan and team knows, that's the smaller amount of what we're talking about here. So I have an example, again, for just illustrative purposes, but to give an idea of how these dollars here might work through the model that you presented, and basically the same kind of thing that you all did, albeit we can't go to the dollar value that you all had proposed. I may have given too many figures, sorry.
Okay.
Back to this.
The education and the communication, and I know you guys have had conversation about that just like we have, because this is a totally different year. It's not going to be where employees will be able to know exactly what their raise is going to be. We're all going to think of different ways of communicating and trying to educate. In this particular proposal, though, there's a number of things I want to point out to you. In the upper right-hand corner, certainly, you can see the dollar value of the way the model might work. And I say might work because, again, this is all predicated on how many teachers fall in each one of the categories, all right? But in this particular case, the effective would work out to be $705. The highly effective would work out to be $940. We put in quite a few assumptions. We've not spent time at the table talking about those. We kind of batted around, and some of them were mentioned by you all, some of them were mentioned by us as we were going through this. But I kind of tried to list some of the things that we all might have to communicate. Because again, we don't know how many teachers are going to be in the highly effective pool, and we don't know how many are going to be in the effective pool. We don't know how many might be in the needs improvement or unsatisfactory, although we hope, basically not many, or if any at all. So we tried to put in some assumptions so that make sure that everybody knew that those numbers are all subject to change because of the fact of the way we did this. I'll just go through them very quickly. The supplements, again, I think we have a pretty good handle on how many supplements. We use the number from this past school year, updating it with things that we absolutely know. We are, as Jim referenced, not including ROTC, but we did include the speech language pathologists with the CCCs. You'll see those in number 1B right in the middle of the page. So we have upped that number of supplements. And we feel like those estimates probably under number 1 are fairly good. If you go back to the top, number 2, in this particular case, we have assumed, of course, that the effective is 75% of the highly effective. I think we agree on that. That was in your proposal. That was in our proposal.
Wait, I'm sorry, I know you got momentum there, but how's it, you almost have some preliminary data based on, what do you call it, part 1, summative 1? How's that shaping out?
Higher than this, more highly effective,
More than 75%?
yes.
Okay.
But I think it's going to be pretty, it should be about there, is what I'm guessing.
Great question, because we've had lots of discussion about that. And as we said at the table, the higher the number of highly effective, then that will dilute the dollar amount. All right.
So remember that last year, when it all washed out, it was 57% highly effective. But our-
52%?
57.
57%.
But our preliminary numbers now are a little higher.
50, this is 75%.
That was
That's-
last year. In the end,
Okay.
summative val, part
Wow.
2, all that stuff in, it's higher right now than it was at this time last year.
Okay.
And we had discussion about that as little as just a few hours ago. Do I need to change that? That's why we left it like it was. Because certainly if it goes the other way, then if you have more effective, then you have highly effective, then the dollar amounts in the upper right-hand corner will go up.
And go down for.
They'll go up for effective.
Down for, no, they'll go down
Well,
for effective.
they'll all go up, but there'll be fewer of
Yeah,
them.
yeah.
Number 3, point of conversation, as Dan, you have raised at the table, there will be a certain amount of new hires, and the new hires, of course, will be placed onto the existing schedule. There won't be any effective or highly effective to worry about.
You won't tell us where they're placed, but they'll be placed
So,
somewhere.
however, in your proposal, you have basically taken like 10% off. We don't expect that we're gonna have anywhere close to that. Again, conversation as recently as a few hours ago, again, Deborah tells me as of today, 140. Now, we know that
140
we'll
what?
have some
100?
people
New hires.
returning off
It
of.
was 142,
2.
yeah.
42 new hires.
So what we did was we said, okay, let's
That's all the
reside at
retirements we had,
200.
142.
What's that?
We've had,
That's all we've hired.
And there were,
New hires.
New hires.
let me check, I also have the number of vacancies posted as of today. It was a much smaller number. Keep going.
What do you think it'd be
we've
more?
had hundreds of retirements.
New hires.
Are we
142?
expecting fewer teachers in the district this year than last year?
No.
It's about the same. There are a few less positions currently allocated because of some changes in Title II.
That's what I'm getting at.
You know, again.
As of today, there were 23 currently advertised and 1 waiting to be released. So 24 currently ads out there.
How many teachers
And
are
we
you
could sit
anticipating
here-
next year? I'm sorry, Jan, how many teachers are you anticipating next year in the
Well,
district?
we estimated here, we put down 200. We figure after 6-day count and
Well,
everything.
so
that-
you've got a budget book somewhere, you gave it to me last week, how many teachers do you have planned for next year?
Positions.
Positions, yes.
I think it was,
And this year was like 49, yeah, 4902
I don't
or
have
something.
that. I gave you my book.
Okay, thank you. It's in there, it's one of those first couple
This
pages.
number right here.
well,
Judy.
Yeah.
the point of we are projected, teacher-wise, with all of the ones in your ranks to actually decrease by about 24 and a half.
Okay, so what's the number?
So, the issue is, and
Sorry, are you
please
looking
take
at a
this
number?
with the way I'm trying to express it, it doesn't really matter
I don't get the number.
whether we,
We'll get you the number, hold on.
I'm sorry, Judy, I just, usually
I
it says here so many
said,
teachers.
what I'm trying to say is, it doesn't really matter. We could sit here all night and argue about what number of teachers we're going to use. I don't know if my 200's right. I don't know if that your 500 was right. I'd say your 500 was definitely overstated. But ultimately, it's going to be mathematically what works out. So my number may not be right, your number may not be right. We don't know what the exact number's going to be. Certainly, whatever number it is, we absolutely agree they'll be placed, they won't be involved in the calculation for highly effective or effective. They're just going to be placed, and there won't be any increase for those folks.
Dan, where
I
did you?
think that was your point.
Where did you
right?
come up with the number 500?
I came up with that from, we did some grant work recently and found that the last couple, 3 years, attrition in this district has been, the lowest, I believe, was 10%. I think the last 3 years were 10, 11, 12%, what I remember from that grant work. No, we did.
The average was like 9.6 in the last 3 years.
No, right, okay. 10% stuck in my head, but maybe I was taking the 9.6 and rounding it, but then we had, I figured 5,000 teachers and lose 10%. That's where I got that from.
Absolutely, like I've said from day one, fewer teachers means those dollar amounts go up.
Well, okay. I mean, we're not rooting to lose people, but.
I already basically covered B under number 3 and C. Again, we don't know what the final split will be, if it's 25-75, it's going to be 80-20, we don't know. And for D, it's just making sure that everybody's real clear that the new hires are not included. All right? Certainly, anyone that's had a break in service, non-approved leave, falls into that category. For number 4, what we did, and again, this is totally subjective. we can put any numbers down that you guys want to put down. But for purposes of this example, we had to do something to try to show. And so what we did is we said that 100% of all the PSC and CC teachers will stay on the grandfathered salary schedule, and 100% of the AC teachers will move to performance pay. Maybe none of them will, I don't know. But
Well, they have to. The AC
it doesn't
teachers-
really matter, except if they're highly effective, it makes a matter of $1 difference.
Mhm.
So, excuse me, but we could be off $4,600 roughly, plus.
Your
fringe.
AC
So-
teachers have to stay on the performance scale. They don't get the option to go to grandfather.
I'm sorry?
But I'm just letting your point be, it says AC
I'm
teachers
sorry, say
moving.
that.
Your 4B says AC teachers, 100% of them will be moving to the pay for performance scale. That's where, of course, that's where they have to be. There's no option for
No,
them.
they can stay. AC teachers that already are employed with us can absolutely stay on the grandfather salary schedule.
Well, they won't be moving anywhere then.
If
I get, okay,
they-
never,
If they're effective or
Yes,
highly
yeah,
effective,
it's
yes,
gonna-
they're impacted exactly the same way as your PSCs and your CCs.
okay, okay.
Okay?
Yeah. We'll talk later. But, yeah, we're
1,
good.
2, and 3 in the middle of the page are the same format that we used before. Again, in this particular scenario, the absolute only difference between your effective and highly effective is if you're on performance pay, those highly effectives will get $1 more added to their particular increment. So, and we could, we can discuss the number of teachers that are in that teacher number column, but again, it sort of kind of doesn't matter what we put in there, because none of us really know what the correct numbers are at this point in time. We don't know how many will fall into HE or into E. The total down at the bottom, same format as you saw the last time. There's just the total amount into category 1, 2, and 3. Again, the only place we have the supplements, of course, is in category 1. The grandfather salary schedule has a dollar amount, as does the pay for performance salary schedule. You can see adding the fringe, the 2 health insurances. That first table, that first box, is identical to the one on the other page. And then the very bottom box is to take that $9,200,000 almost and add in the value of the state mandated increase in retirement, and the total value of the package is 10.1 million. That is absolutely stepping out of our comfort zone. I know you've asked us to do that. You may not believe us, but I'm telling you we are, because we're trying to look and get recurring money as much as we possibly can. We don't want to leave any holes for anything that we all will have to deal with, both you and us, when we negotiate for 15-16. That total value on the bottom line, by the way, that $10,154,010 is a total package of 4.63%. In essence, one more thing, sorry, Jim. In essence, all of the new money that the board had, once they subtracted off the categoricals pretty much, basically is in this proposal to you without much of anything left for other employee groups.
Is that it? Who's that? That was a lot. Okay. We have something to go talk about. I'm going to talk to my team. First reaction, well, you moved, which that itself is remarkable. Appreciate that. I mean, y'all went, you dug. So first, I want the first reaction to be some positive, and you did go and find some stuff. The $15 a month less in health insurance, that's helpful. I don't want to be ungrateful, that is helpful. Somehow there's a disconnect between me telling teachers, hey, here's your raise package, 4.63%, and that's $700. Someone's going to catch me on the math on that and say, Dan, I don't feel like 700 is a 4.6% raise. But we'll talk. Just so everyone knows, my team, your team, everyone knows. Your last package was 4.6 or 7, kind of between 4.6 and 7. Now you're at 5.2. So that's a step, about $550,000 that you've moved up. Our last offer was 5.9.
Which
gonna
was,
say-
And
which
change.
was a decline of $2,000 from the month.
From the one before.
Our 5.9.
Yes.
We were at 6.2 and we came to 5.9.
But you had one in between.
Well, when I moved ours to our model, I told you I was trying to do a fair representation of it. That wasn't us counter offering, it was your turn to counter. I was just trying to show a model.
Okay. Right.
So, we've come down from the 8s, you've come up from the 3s. So we're working towards each other. I think I told you last time I was nervous about where I'd move to. I didn't care to move much further, but you all did move, and good faith bargaining, we're going to talk about what y'all come up with. Anyway, that was a good, let's keep reaction number 1 positive. Reaction number 2 is your attire package has indeed come up. Trying to see where it came up. I said the salary part of it did come up $550,000. 300 of that came out of health insurance. I mean, you explained why there was a cut in health insurance, just fewer people in the plan and whatnot, but really you've moved $250,000 for salary, for total. Between salary and health insurance, you've moved $250,000. And there still hasn't been an acknowledgement of a buffer in the salary part of our budget. There hasn't been a willingness to discuss that $4 million transfer from our salary dollars to capital. Even though some things have changed in the capital budget, namely property tax increase and what was the other one? PICO dollars came in. It's almost like that discussion hasn't happened. So there's some concerns. But we're going to give this fair consideration, and we'll come back. Jim, why don't you give us? It's 6:10 now. 6:30. We'll leave. We'll go on. We'll go somewhere. We'll come back 6:30 and see where we are. You know what, Jim? Vicky's making a point. We're the ones kind of have some serious talk we have to have. You're not going to counter yourself, so I mean, mind if we keep the I'll come find you at 6:30. Of the pluses, yeah, okay, that's understandable.
Yeah, well, I don't like that.
As opposed to. Hey, welcome back.
Jason, we're on. All right, Danny.
I know, I love knowing y'all were talking. It was our turn to caucus, but
Yeah, we're close.
it's gonna be your turn to caucus here pretty soon.
Yeah.
Welcome back. I wonder what people watching the tape, they must just see the tape click off and 10 seconds later we're back and they must think, wow, so they went outside to talk for 10 seconds. No, that was probably about 40 minutes or 45 minutes or something like that. All right, man. And women. Jim, this was supposed to be, how do I say that? This is going to be holding out hope. Okay, let's go for optimism. This is supposed to be the year that teachers come back and have their contract, and even if it's not wonderful, they see progress, they see hope, they see language that shows that we're really dedicated to making their lives better. They don't see that we took 2 token things off their plate and replaced them with 5 other things. They really see a commitment to planning time and making things better and hope. That's what this year is supposed to be about. It's right for teachers, it's right for kids. And we also have this other thing holding over us, which is our finances are about to crash like never before if this half penny doesn't go through.
You're right.
Jim, I don't know if, well, I know you don't. I was gonna say, I don't know if you know the emails I get. I don't know if you get emails like I get. But teacher morale is so delicate right now.
I understand.
Well, thank you.
How
Because you
was
probably
my-
get the same emails, I mean, similar phrase things.
Well, where I was 9 weeks ago, I managed over 100 teachers, so I understand the pulse of the situation.
I get teachers, they tell me their finances, and they don't know if they can stay in teaching, which is heartbreaking. And right here, yeah, the difference between $60, $80, that's not gonna make, if the house gets foreclosed on, maybe it does, maybe it doesn't save them. But I want my teachers dedicated to the teaching profession. We have this vote coming up. We need morale up for teachers. We need them coming back to a contract that appreciates them. I get teachers, they call up, I had one today, literally one today. This isn't just, her room's being moved, the room she's been in for years. Her room's being moved, her assignment's being moved, nobody talks about it. She tells me the problem, and then it ends with, and why should I vote for the half penny? That's what the district thinks of me. Now, we're in favor of the half penny, we get it. We get it that this is a disaster if it doesn't pass. It's gonna be bad for jobs, teachers, most important, it's gonna be bad for kids when we start dismantling their school, when we continue dismantling their school district. Now, we came to the table, beginning of the summer, this is the first thing we put out there, we said, let's do right by teachers, let's stop the practice, the long-standing practice of this district of holding back versus what you can really do. Okay, Jim, I've been doing this a couple of years. You have more experience than me. I know you like to call yourself the new kid because you're in that spot, in that title, but you've been on this bargaining team at least as long as I've been. And you've been in education probably longer than me. I've seen so many years that I'll either settle the contract and then money shows up for purchases and then all my teachers are coming to me saying, wait, look at that, they had money all along, they had more money. Because there's more purchases or there's more surplus. And then I'm a sucker. Or I've seen we go to impasse and I see the district, and I said a word that I didn't mean to say that word, don't get all worded up on me here. But we end up going through a whole magistrate process where the board just steamrolls over teachers. The board imposes, everybody's happy, this is how it will be, Dan's wrong, union's wrong. And then still, there's the money. It shows up later on. Got a whole community saw it last year with a piece of software, 2 years ago, a piece of software. We had to close schools, no other way. And then they saw that purchase. All right. We've identified padding in our budget. You've explained it, Judy explained it, Deb explained it as, come on, now this is a practice, Dan, I can't plan to overspend, right? I gotta have, but yeah, but you can plan to spend what you got. We've identified a capital transfer, $4 million. That was planned before PICO dollars came in. That was planned before the property values came in higher than anticipated. Those are dollars already in our operations budget. They don't have to move. All right? There was talk at the last board meeting, there might be another round of bond refinancing. We began the day 1.3 million apart. Okay? I told you last time, I came down, talk about comfort zones here, I came down out of my comfort zone. Because teachers expect me to get everything that I can get. It's my job to get everything I can get. I don't want to be irresponsible. It's not my job to be irresponsible to the district. So I came down to where I thought it was comfortable. Jim, you didn't even meet us halfway. You came close, but you didn't even meet us halfway.
I understand.
We have teachers made a very passionate discussion, these speech teachers. There's other districts literally pay them in the thousands. A supplement in the thousands for doing what they do, for their additional certifications and their additional services, and even the funds they bring in through Medicare billing and other things. They get, I thought we could at least cover their certificate, which is $250. And you offered them $150, which is more than before. Again, I do want to recognize and appreciate progress, but Brevard can certainly cover their certificates when other districts, adjacent districts to us are paying them in the thousands. And Michelle and her group did a presentation showing where Orange County paid, what, 3,000-4,000?
Not Orange County, Seminole.
Seminole.
And Osceola, Indian River.
But it's in the order of thousands.
Yes.
Right? It's not in the order of, they're not discussing 150 versus 250.
Yes.
We had our ROTC teachers come in and talk about their work they do above and beyond their contract. They get 2 evaluations. They get one from the military, they get one from us. They do the full-blown teacher evaluation and their military evaluation, including a PGP, including collaboration, which is not a requirement of their military. They do it to be good team players. Some of them are assistant sponsoring things. Now, they came in with a proposal in the order of tens of thousands. I've suggested their assistant coaching positions, they could get 150 lumped in with these teacher leaders. And that hasn't been reflected. So I'm going to give you a task, which is essentially, well, in layman's terms, the task is try again. We want a contract. Because if I go back to pre-planning and I put out a newsletter that says we got all this good contract language, but here's where we are on finances. And by the way, I'll be putting in there health insurance, the appreciation note, that's going to be in there. We'll price it out. I've got your numbers here. We'll talk about that. But I can't go back and say, here's what the district thought of you. And my teachers say, okay, my union's telling me vote yes. And then I get the email, say, Dan, what about that surplus? When Judy gives that report the first week in September, and Judy, I'm sorry, I call your name, you're the one that gets to give that report. First week September, what about that surplus? What about this half mil? What's this, or the half mil, what's this half penny all about? And you're still transferring dollars out? Those are the emails I'm going to get. I'm going to say, yes, trust the district, vote yes anyway on the contract, and then go out and vote on a half penny. See, I'm in a tight spot with my members.
I understand.
I'm in a tight spot myself, too. So I'm going to give you a task, give you homework, to, I'm going to give you a task to do a little better. Our offer, we're still at 5.9. In our offer, we'd like you to consider the SLPs, the ROTC, and see what dollars can go into the bottom line there.
All right. Can I talk?
Richard, I'd like you to ask me to talk too, and before you talk, you have to ask me as well.
I certainly understand and appreciate you all coming back and giving us this task. And I want you to know we'll take it seriously. But this is what I would like to say to where we are right now. Guys, sometimes a contract is more than just salary. And I feel like throughout this whole entire summer, we have listened to every single concern that you guys have brought to us, even to the last second. Today, you even brought to us, would you please consider moving early release Wednesdays, when we have scheduled professional development on those days, would you think about taking them away? Here we are in the 11th hour, and we're still getting a list from you guys of language that you'd like for us to consider. Now, I can tell you, at least from my point of view, whether you agree or disagree with me, but I think my team certainly feels that they're agreeing with me, that we have given so much in language to the teachers that there's a lot there that you all are going to have to, I think, acknowledge that doesn't cost money, but you know it costs something at the end of the day, and it's a positive for our teachers, but we'd like some credit there. I mean, we've given on annual contract, we've given on everything that you've brought up there, we have made concessions on. Even to the point, Dan, where we have said, yes, we'll accept your salary schedule, the one that you proposed last week. We came today and said, yeah, here it is. Guys, it's more than just money. But I know that's important to you all. So, we looked at insurance. We went from 70 to 50 to 35. Guys, that's a savings of over $720,000. From 50 to 35. That's not even counting the 70 to 35. That's $720,000 that we just gave to you guys that it seemed to just not even be discussed other than a thank you at the table. And we are only $694,398 apart in a contract. I mean, we gave $720,000 just like that at the table an hour and a half ago, or whatever it was, and now we're sitting here now discussing $694,398 whether or not we get a contract or not. We've given all the language, we have done everything we can in insurance, and now here we are, that close. Now I'd like to talk a little bit about ROTC. Yes, we took them off the teacher leader proposal in our counter to you all today. Do you all know why? Does everybody know why we took them off? Not that, I'm going to tell you right now,
You haven't revealed one.
not that we are upset with the way in which those folks administer and deliver services to our students. I want to say publicly and to our audience members and to that camera over there for folks who are watching, we love our ROTC instructors. We really do. They provide a service to our students and to our schools and to our community that is thankless. However, you all have asked us to look at whether or not we should pay them supplements or increase their supplements throughout the whole summer. And we heard what it is that they asked for. Do you all know that and I've got the list here. I've run every one of the ROTC's salaries. Do you know that the worst salary is $46,613? That's the least amount of money that one person makes on this list.
Sorry, what was that number?
$46,613.20. But do you know what the highest salary is on this list? Get a load of this. $90,032.28. Now, there are principals in this district that don't make that much money. And we're going to now turn around and give them more money in a supplement? If you all want to do that, you all go and do that. But I'm saying that right now, that money should probably go to some other folks in your bargaining unit. That's $46,000, the lowest salary, all the way up to $90,000. The average salary for ROTC instructors is $68,793.81. I'll say it again. $68,793.81. I took them off not because I want to be a mean person. I took them off because I feel like right now their salaries aren't commensurate even with our assistant principals and principals in our own district, not to even say our teachers. I get a little passionate about this because I got to impress upon you all that I get it with the SLP. I get that. But I think that right now, where we are right now in this district, with where we are trying to come across with salaries and trying to save every nickel and dime because we've got a half-cent sales tax, that even though I appreciate the ROTC instructors, I think that right now they have to realize this is not the time that they should be asking for supplemental pay increases. Okay? This is not the time. Not to say that we can't do this next year or the year after if things get better with the way things are, but right now, and I don't want people quoting me in the office, in the audience or wherever they are right now that Hickey's down on ROTC instructors. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is their salaries, though, aren't commensurate with where our teacher salaries are right now for the folks who you're bargaining with. Please print that if you're going to put something in on Facebook. or in social media. I'm advocating for the teachers. And I know they are instructors. At the same time, I think even in their weakest moment, they'd have to say, you know, maybe perhaps right now, we need to take a pass and look at this at a later time when they come in here and ask for supplemental pay. I'm off my soapbox now. Guys, you tasked us. We need to caucus. We need to talk. You've asked us to look for money for SLLP. I've already told you where I feel, how I feel about ROTC, but that's something we can discuss if that's a deal breaker. You've asked us to try again. That's what negotiating is about. Good faith, we will try again. Can you give us time to
You
caucus?
take what you need, yeah. Jim, I
And
think very.
we get to stay here because.
Yeah, we ran you out last time, yeah.
We get to stay here.
Jim, I want you to understand, everything I'm hearing you say is that we're on the same page and that we want this done. We want morale up. We want teachers appreciative and in the right frame of mind when they come back to school. Not hearing that we're fighting over stuff. Just to go back to, and not to argue. Richard knows I'm programmed to argue, but not to argue. But you talk about, you know, you gave us what we wanted. We're going to get to that point. Maybe we're not there yet because I heard you, but we're going to get to that point where it's not us versus you. Where Dan wanted and Jim gave it. It's going to be, we're doing right things for this district. And if you go back and look at that language, this is really win-win all around. I mean, there's a lot of things where I think you've done a lot of good. We've all done a lot of good. Hopefully, going forward, we're going to get to that point where we really see things through that lens of this is really all victory, not, you know, the Union won today 3-2, and then we lost the other day 1-4. I mean, we're going to realize that we're just doing good things moving forward.
Well,
Without keeping score on that.
I want to piggyback off that. I think you all saw, and Michelle, I know you're new on the team. Vanessa, you're new on the team. Cindy, you're new on the team. Stephanie, you're new. You all saw just a moment of, just a brief moment about an hour ago when we TA'd the AC language, we all celebrated, did we not? So we were just as happy as you were. So yes, I want you to know, yes, you're right, Dan.
That wasn't reluctantly gave us, that was you made the district
That was a
better.
lot of hard work, and everybody was like, yes. We came to an agreement because that means something to us, because that means we're guaranteeing our best young and brightest teachers a spot, which we want to keep, and you all want to keep them as well. So I want you to know, I get that. It's give and take, but I want you to know those things were brought to us by you all to consider. And we feel like we've really done a good job by listening this
Yes,
time
you
and
have.
making sure that we listen to you all. Okay? All right, let's take as long as it takes to caucus to get this handled
All right.
so we get a contract.
Can I just take 1 second?
Yes.
You know what I said at the beginning of these bargaining sessions about the environment. And I want to reiterate that. I don't believe that we've ever gotten into consideration and from that side before. And we really do appreciate it. So we are trying to work out something that the teachers will be happy with.
I've never seen Larry give 2 compliments in the same sentence, so this is.
Was the tape still rolling on?
Yeah.
I want to play that back, you know.
They got his
when times
medication
really get
adjusted
tough.
right or something.
Thank you, Larry. Good.
We're back.
All right.
How you doing, Mr. Jim?
Well, you've given us the assignment, you tasked us with 2 things. Make sure I'll go through my notes here, Dan, because I want to make sure that.
It's been a while, I forget, what did we give you to do?
Yeah. Dan, let me begin before we counter what you'd asked us to do. By stating something that I think sometimes has not been said at the table, and I know, and I thank you for saying that I've been here a while, and I have been here a while. I want to say this to you and to your team, and I want to say it to the audience and for those who are maybe watching. You know, where we started in June, early June, I think I was 3 days on the job. It's so much different than where we are right now. And you tasked us then. You said, you know, we need more money. Judy, go find more money. Judy, go find more money. Judy, go find more money. I mean, that's what we've heard every time that we brought a proposal to this table. And we understand that. I get that. I've been negotiating now for 8 years. I get it. But I have to come to Judy's defense at some point, because I think that what the union needs to recognize is that as the new bargaining spokesperson, I can't allow you all to get into a habit of thinking that every time you say, Judy, go find more money, Judy's hiding more money, or Judy's sitting on money, or Judy's got the money in the dome and she's not turning it over to us, when we are really trying to be transparent and bargain on the first day that we came in good faith. I've said this word countless times, and I want to make sure that everyone understands it. A budget as large as ours here at BPS is a fluid process. Where we were in early June is much different than where we are on August 6th. It's been 9 weeks. I know I remind everybody every time I come to the table that I've survived 9 weeks. Hopefully I'll be here next week and it'll be 10 weeks. So where we were 9 weeks ago is different than where we are right now, because think of everything that has occurred with hiring, with budgets being closed down, with all of our books doing what we need to do. You all get it. You all said there's things that fall to the bottom line, and you're exactly right. So we are willing tonight to say to you, with the understanding that you all understand that we're way out of our comfort zone, with the understanding that it's not just Judy who had 8 weeks ago this much money and she just kept it from us and made us go through this ordeal just for kicks and giggles. That really, it comes with a lot of really hard work. And it comes with a lot of nervousness on our part. So here's where we like to counter. We'd like to offer to the bottom line $150,000 more with fringe, including fringe. We're willing to, out of that total package, we're willing to say to you all that the SLPs, the 3 Cs, would receive $15,846 each.
Right.
No, that total package, so that we take them from, from $150 to $250 as teacher leaders. That total package is $15,846. When you back that out of $150,000, that leaves $134,154 with fringe to the bottom line.
I'm sorry, what was that? I'm sorry, I was racing to find out.
136.
What was that number for?
136?
Yeah, 136.
136?
134, 136.
134, 136.
And that's just into the
Bottom line,
formula?
into the
That
formula.
spits out at the end.
Now, I want to emphasize, we just cannot get hung up on this number, but I know that you all want to be able to say to your constituency, what is it that means for me? So assumptions, assuming what we put across, because remember, we put assumptions there. What that really means is that highly effective would receive $966, and effective would receive $724. About. Remember, these are
Right, turning
assumptions.
to a formula, we get it.
So really what we're saying is we're putting another we're putting $150,000 in the pot. We're carving out $15,000 for our 3 Cs, but that really means then you have another $134,136 in the pot. And how it ever shakes out is how it shakes out. Now, Dan, what we'd ask that you give us in return is that we still have these 2 items in the parking lot, the grandfathered schedule, and we have the planning time with the 607. We want you guys, if you accept what our final offer to you all, not our final offer, but our offer, then we'd want you to TA that, and I think we'd have a contract tonight.
Health also. You need the health plan.
Yeah. we would think that, I think you all were very pleased with where we came with that, because remember, we gave up $1.7 million, all right? We saved your people $1.7 million by coming from $70 to $35. Did I say that loud enough for the audience? 1.7 million, because that's 40% where we're trying to make sure that folks, part of your compensation package, 40% is in insurance that we're kicking in.
Jim, I apologize, it's been a while since I've been here at my notes, so I can go through my notes here. And let's make sure we know what we are at. We're gonna caucus before, and it won't be that long, but we're gonna, let's make sure we know where we're at. Okay, I'm looking at your document you gave us,
Yeah.
and you still need action on that first piece, lines 1 through 8.
Yes, sir.
And that is, let's go to the little box there so we can check it off if we do it. That is, just so everybody knows, that is a line that was in the contract about 5 to 7, or 6 to 7 per year. I don't think there's anyone out there watching that doesn't know this issue. The district brought this to us. I'm just rehashing, I'm not telling you anything you don't know, but I just want to make sure everybody knows what's going on. Some people are, they're going to forego the 80 hours of tape they're just going to watch today, tonight. We've had a lot of talk about that. It's talked up on our internet, about my website about it. There's a lot of talk about that. When the district had to make some cuts a couple years back, they came to this union as part of a package. It was actually a raise package. There was some insurance money back then. There was some bonus money back then. There was some raise money back then. And he asked us to sign off on 6 of 7. We did. It was ratified. It was divisive. And since then, we've had people with different opinions telling us different things. Basically, 3 groups. Elementary, they want to see more money at salary in general. Paint with a broad brush right here. I'm sure there's some elementary that would come to the rally of the secondary. But we've got secondary. Some just want more salary and understand the 6 of 7. Many want 5 of 7 back. That's an understatement. I just said that without emotion, but that's a very emotional topic for folks. I'm a secondary guy, you're a secondary guy. We know what those 2 plannings mean or what they meant. And we got elective teachers that they hear talk that, well, we could just compromise and do a 6-period day. They know their jobs are wrapped up in that. So that's an emotional issue. That's a big ask. Remember when earlier we said, wow, we just did AC, that was a real big deal? Let's, mark the moment. If we sign off on that, that's kind of a big moment. We would also be signing off on a life raft of some sort, where you've given us in the strategic plan that the board is going to look for more planning time. Now this, just so we all know what this union is saying here, this quest to find more planning time is not equivalent to getting us back our hour in secondary. That's why I kind of called it a life raft. When the plane goes down and you're in a life raft, well, it's not, well, I'd rather be in the plane flying happily and safely, but a life raft, at least, it's hope. All right? So we're looking at that item on your first page. We're looking at the first item on page 3, which is where you have language for an MO, for the strategic plan. Make a little box there. Salary. Jim, I've made a mess out of your sheet here with notes. Do you have a clean one of these? Do you have a clean one of these that I could make some notes on?
Yes.
Yeah, we've all made a mess out of ours with notes. I just want to make sure we are looking, because we're going to caucus and talk.
Yeah.
It's at page 3 of 3.
This one?
Yes.
Yeah, I got it. Larry, you got it? Thank you, Barry.
Right.
Jim, let me make sure I'm doing this right.
Dan, we want to TA this.
Isn't that
That's a
it?
sample.
What am I looking at? Yeah, I'm sorry, yeah, well, a clean copy of,
You have this. The two dot, no, this is,
wait, that I didn't see, that was one, the typo in it. Oh, yeah, we want TA the thing that's a sample. You want TA that, well,
make sure it's.
Well, this is the one there.
I just want to make sure we're looking at the right documents when we go out and talk.
Well, if you want to give me.
We did this about 5 years ago, we signed off on something, and it wasn't something we were signing off on. That was a mess.
With the chart below.
This one was page 2 of 3. Judy, when you were giving these out, I was numbering them, and one of them ended up being 2 of 3.
That's number 2.
Yeah, that's it.
It would now change.
You want me to go down the numbers?
I have provided one to Jim with what the numbers would change.
Okay, this looks like you adjusted the typo?
Yes, we did.
Do you want me to?
That's exactly the same one you got earlier.
No, we fixed the typo.
It looks like you fixed the typo.
I'm sorry, yes, and we have that, we can
I
hand it
want
out.
this.
What we've done now is, we have one
Take
with
this to
the
Dan, I want
corrected
this
dollar
back.
figures.
That's gonna give you the dollar figures.
I gotta give them back, okay.
Yeah,
Oh, these are all the, okay.
Yes,
Now,
that way-
if we were to initial this, this doesn't have those supplements spelled out. It has a dollar amount for supplements, but it doesn't
All right,
have
I
the,
get it.
so how are we gonna reconcile that?
Well, we have language.
That would be part of our.
We don't have language for supplements.
We got language across the table, could we handwrite in on our language the supplements?
Right, we have salaries adjustments and supplements, but we wanna,
Look at page 3 of our
oh,
language.
you got it over here, let's take a look at that.
And what if we?
At the bottom?
Yes, what if we hand wrote in what their dollar amounts would be, and then you and I sign that?
Okay, so for the first 3, I'm gonna put in brackets over here, 150. And for the third one, I'm gonna put 250.
You got it.
How about I use a pen? You understand, we're gonna go have this, I think I said that enough times.
Yeah, you want to talk about this, I think,
I
right?
just wanna make sure we all understand what's being asked of us, so we understand your offer. Okay, so Jim, here, just so you can kinda get a view here of what I did, I just put the 150 to 250.
Yeah, and I'm writing mine in. Yeah, I
Okay.
got it.
And then the total, let me put some numbers in here too. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm gonna copy your numbers onto here. 4, 6. 5, 3, 6, 9, 12, 7. Oh, thank you, this was your comment. That was your loaner?
Was the grant, you'd ask questions?
Oh, it was just 100.
That was a grant thing. Somebody looked at it and said, what was that he did? Yeah, that was a grant. When grants pay salary, we're fine with the salary being paid out of the grant, and whatever the adjustments, whatever numbers were written into the grant, that is not a problem for us. We don't want to stand in the way of people getting paid when you write a grant to get paid.
Since you guys-
Okay, so, lost my pencil here. All right, where do we have the health plan written out? Something that would get signed if something were to be signed. And we go back to that original proposal and adjust numbers. Susan, do you think that would work for you and your team? If we went back to
What have we
the,
done? What have we always done? What have we always put in?
well, usually you formally give me your proposal across the table,
Well,
and you announce that that's your offer. Now, you did a presentation, and I had to ask, was that the offer, and I was told no, and then it changed a little bit, so, but we could take your document and make the changes to it, which is right here.
Jim's calling.
Yes.
We'll agree to that then. So I just need,
You need a
Well,
clean,
let me
You need a clean
ask a
copy.
question,
Yeah, go ahead.
if I may.
It's here within these 8,000 documents
Go
today.
right on there.
Normally, the provisions of the insurance is in the appendix.
Right, it's a chart that we're looking at, and you gave us the chart.
And that's in the last year's contract?
Yeah, the chart's in the
All
contract.
right, let me find it.
It's the very last thing before the index. I promise you, I got it here. But Jim, I would want to, yeah, there you go. It was like a 3 or 4 page memorandum, and Susan, you took us through it, and the last page was a chart.
That was the memorandum from me to the superintendent. That's never been part of the contract that I'm aware of.
No, not the, well, I'm right, we wouldn't ratify the whole thing. This, oh, no,
Sorry?
That's the only chart that was.
no, that is it. Is that all that we ever?
Well, okay, that document can't be changed, because that document is the insurance committee's recommendation.
Right, yes, this,
So
right.
that can't be changed. And what we would do
How do we
would be, we
MOU?
would change and cap that 8,000 out of pocket. Those things go into the plan design, the schedule of benefits. That one sheet of paper, maybe that's what I showed you? No, that's the.
Yeah, that was a worksheet. That's the document I was thinking
This
I had a
is the
worksheet
schedule
on
of benefits.
it. Okay,
This has everything in it that the plan, the major, the deductibles, the out-of-pocket,
Right.
the co-pays.
the out-of-pocket, so the adjustments we would want to make to that would be somehow indicate that it's 8,000 per family if both work for the
Under the
district.
section for annual out-of-pocket maximum.
Right.
There, we would have to, Lynn Christian in my office, and I would sit down and
You'd get into
redesign
that document.
this.
And then somehow we have to describe the premiums.
Well,
Is that
premiums are
described?
not on your, the schedule of benefits is your plan
Premiums
design.
are actually in the contract, aren't they? They're in contract language, what the premiums cost.
Yes.
There's a chart
It's in the-
somewhere.
Yes, that's the premiums.
Employee plus family, employee plus children, that's,
The dreaded appendix.
It's on page 7, nope, Mom. It's actually part of the, Dan, it's part of the appendix. Part of the appendix, yeah. And in the appendix, there is,
we can write up something.
It's page
Simple
83
enough.
We're trying to
in
write
the
that right now.
contract.
Oh, you're trying to,
During the
okay.
caucus, I think we could do that.
You could run to a photocopier and write that and indicate that. Okay, so I'm just gonna put a box over here and say health plan, and then you're gonna, I mean, this is a process where we wanna look initial, we have it on tape, we have notes, minutes, we should also have a document too. So the health plan,
oh, and the schedule of benefits is in the appendix.
right.
So this would be revised.
And then apparently page 80 of the contract is where it talks about the board contribution and premiums for the employees, depending on whether they have children or spouses or how many spouses. Jim, I'm going to withdraw. It was our suggestion. We don't need to TA a withdrawal, but I'm going to withdraw the suggestion of the grandfathered salary schedule. Excuse me, we have a grandfathered salary schedule.
Right.
Withdraw adding the years to it. It is, I still maintain that it is dysfunctional, that we don't have that transparency. You've already heard my earful on it. That's gonna be something we're gonna agree to disagree on. I won't let that be the last thing that keeps us from a contract. It'll be just one of those oddball things that we're never gonna understand why you do it your way, and you're never gonna understand why we make a fuss about it. But that's why bargaining is fluid. And,
I like that one.
there we go. So someday you will be looking at somebody
Right.
in this seat, and we'll see if that person cares to bring it up. All right, so we got that health plan. Okay, so we're gonna go caucus, we're gonna talk about 6 to 7. We're gonna talk about planning time, being part of the strategic plan. We're gonna talk about those supplements for team leaders. We agreed that we could just simply TA up on this, and that'll suffice for your chart that I've already lost. Here it is. And then we're gonna talk about salary, and we're gonna talk about the health plan.
Okay, Dan.
How long do you need to make a copy of whatever you're copying?
I can't make a copy.
Oh, So you'll just have the one copy we could both initially, and you can
Yeah.
slap it all
Yeah.
in. So you're just waiting on us then to come back from the caucus?
And I want to explain why I can't make a copy.
They locked you out, you left the job, they
Well, no,
locked you out.
I could get in the office, but they changed the copier machine, and I don't have a number anymore.
Well,
I couldn't figure out how to make copies at Caucus
Remember,
Day, so
they
that's
got new
fine.
copier machines, but I was gone when they got the new copier
It's
machines.
it's a
so
4-digit number?
I don't know.
You got 10,000 tries. If
I
it's
know. So I'm afraid I'll go up there and promise something.
The
and I
5-digit
won't
number?
make
All right.
copies. So I could get in the front office, I just can't make copies. We'll figure out something.
Isn't, for teachers, I think this- we share this at our schools, our code for our copier is the last 5 numbers of our teacher number. I don't know if you all do the same
I'm
way
not
on the other
programmed
end.
into, I don't think, this copier machine.
Yeah.
And Larry has offered his copy code
Yeah.
number.
Yeah, Larry.
We'd have to set up our own server.
Larry will do what is
There's
needed.
something about going to the site with the new machines.
They're site specific.
They're site-based.
We only work with ESM, we only work with because I found that out 2 times ago when we were here.
We'll
They just have
try to
to-
do our very best.
Another teacher beer.
You're gonna train.
Okay, we're gonna, and then we're gonna come back.
Are we leaving? Y'all want to stay here? It's our turn to leave?
Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, it's your turn to leave.
So loud out there. Yeah.
Jim, we got another problem.
All right.
You knew I did this, right? Bring language at the end? No, actually, we've been talking about this. So we have this law. And I could be as mad as you, and you were trying to correct me earlier saying don't take it out on Judy. I could be mad at Judy. Judy didn't write the law, you didn't write the law. I've got a law that ties our pay to evaluation.
Yes.
And that is our reality. And people could be mad at you, they could be mad at me, they could be mad at BPS, BFT, whoever they want to be mad at, they go home, kick the dog if they don't kick the dog. They can be mad as they want, but that doesn't change the law. Now, they could vote in November for their lawmakers, but that doesn't change the fact right now you and I have a law that says we can't go paying on pay for performance without the performance part, so we have evaluation issues. So I'd like to hear from you what you think is realistic, because we might as well know now. What do you all think is realistic for when we have our VAM scores and a timetable from there of when this could actually happen for teachers?
All right, we've been trying to talk at the table because we felt we might be at a moment this summer where we needed to have this discussion. Dan is entirely correct. We cannot pay out until we finish our evaluation system. Now, here's what I consider our proposal. Let me explain before I explain it. Explain before I explain it. Starting to sound like you, Dan.
I think we've been here long enough.
Yes, low blows.
All right. All right.
We have got, I feel we have got to create a culture now, a paradigm shift in how we proceed with paying out raises to our employees. You know, it used to be, and it has been forever and ever, that we negotiate a contract, settle a contract, and pay out immediately. But as you pointed out, the legislature has now handcuffed us to where we have to wait on our VAM scores. I believe, in all fairness, to what it means to our employees is that as soon as our VAM scores come in, that we pay out on the next, and I'm not Judy here, but we pay out as best we can on our closest payroll. Now, I'm not saying that we could do that. I mean, if there was a day between VAM scores and payrolls the next day, there's no way we could do that. But the reality is that we try to pay out as soon as we can possibly get things up and running for our employees as best we can. All right? Now, what that means is this. Some employees are going to say, well, we want it retroactive. We want to go back all the way from August, and that we get that money in, increments for 24 pay. We believe our software that we have, that we purchased for payroll, let it do its job. It will not make any errors. And depending on when that payroll is that we start paying out, and I'm gonna throw out an example, let's just say out of the 24 pays, there were 18 pays left in the school year, and we would pay 18 pays with our salary. We start a culture like that. We have to start here in the beginning, because this year will be easy. As you all pointed out, next year, we're gonna have 56 differentiated, or next year.
Oh, right now, we got 56, if we
Oh,
just
yeah,
do this.
that's what I'm getting at. We're gonna be in such a place in another year, 2 years, 3 years, that if we don't really create a culture where people now come to expect that when we settle a contract, it has to wait till sometime between the end of November and the 1st of December. And if we can do this early, and we do this now, and people just learn, I mean, this year, people are gonna maybe kick and scream and holler and say, you guys are nuts. But if people start to begin to realize this is the way it has to be, then it will become part of our culture. And this is how we'll pay out.
No, it doesn't.
So that's what I am suggesting.
So basically, you're suggesting raise kicks in, and your suggestion is not retro. I mean, not have that, I mean, the culture is we have a raise as a retro check to cover the checks we missed, and we go forward. That's your suggestion.
Right.
I want to make sure we understand.
And I want to say this, I got a little note.
You got no,
Okay,
I got no
a little
too.
note. We can
Yeah.
safely say it would be in the paychecks before an increased premium in January. We can safely say,
Okay, well then, okay.
if that helps you.
Say by the end of December, right.
Yeah.
That's, I just want to make sure we all understand here. There's not a difference in salary, whether it's retro or not retro. If a raise kicks in without retro means you just get a little bit more money in each check, because instead of retroing it back, the raise actually helps out your monthly pay. You've got all those months with no raise, but then the makeup is you have that.
Much
If you
larger
get-
percentage,
You get a larger paycheck.
That's right.
If you take the retro, that's like a one-time bump up in your pay, so you've been saving for a special purchase or got to pay a bill or something, you got that one-time shot. But in the end, whatever whatever we ask for, you ask, I mean, this is a philosophical difference, this is not an amount of salary difference. This doesn't change your actual salary. If I say I want retro, don't want retro, that doesn't change dollars on the table, doesn't cost more or less. It's just y'all program the computer to do what it needs to do. Doesn't affect FRS. There could perhaps be a minuscule difference to your own personal income taxes, because the money you collected in one year, calendar year, might be slightly different because you're backloading it instead of retroing it. But really, we're just coming down to a preference for, do employees like that retro, or do employees like that bigger paycheck? If you can survive that time without the raise, do you like having a bigger check moving forward?
I think if you were to look at it and calculate out somebody, you'd find that the retro isn't going to be that large. And in the retro, there's an awful lot of manual work that takes place. People in payroll and HR have to touch records manually and calculate. Software doesn't do that for them. So that's why we're suggesting that we space it out over the remaining checks. It's not going to make that much of a difference to any particular employee, and especially if we can get it in before winter break, which would absolutely be what we would strive to do. Then the time gap there is that it's not the best use of the time to try to do retro, if you'll bear with me saying it that way, for the sake of the small amount of dollars it is, if we could get it sooner in the paychecks and have it continue on for the rest of the year. That's the fastest, most expedient thing to do for the employee. Because the retro would not come at the same time. The retro would come after the fact, and with touching all those records manually, I don't see any way possible that we could get retro until after the first of the year.
Judy, I mean, I hear you, but remember, I represent a whole lot of teachers.
I got it, I know.
And I'm going to tell you on behalf of a whole lot of teachers that enter a whole lot of data, and spend a whole lot of hours entering a whole lot of data, saying, I'm entering a whole lot of data just to fill up a computer program. There's not a ton of sympathy that this becomes a ton of work. I hear your discussion, but I've got teachers working 9, 10 o'clock at night, grading papers, entering data that they have no value with, but they're doing it because it's part of their jobs. But I'll give them maybe a more sellable argument to it. The retro checks tend to have a lot more withholding tax come out of them, and you have to wait until your April filing to get any of that back. So that might fly a little better than payroll has a whole lot to work. You've got people down there in payroll, I'm not trying to break their backs, but when I go to teachers and I say, boy, that's a lot of work they have to do down there at the district, you know, we're not going too far with that argument. But I think withholding tax, and it would take longer to do it that way, those might be two arguments that might get you where you want to
It
get.
absolutely would take longer to get the money back.
That's what I'm saying, yeah, you need to explain this to them.
It would absolutely come after the first of the year.
Are we gonna, could our software package pay this out in 2 weeks or 3 weeks versus a 6 or 8 week process? Come on, that to me would be a selling point. I'm not trying to say you have to sell it, but I get, you know what I'm saying, to explain to somebody, we could pay this out right around December or earlier versus having now wait until January.
So, when when this VAM idea came out, it was you all were supposed to have the scores in September. That hasn't happened, at least in the 2 years it's happening. Best case scenario, this comes in October. Early October. October 1, we open up the mailbox,
Okay.
there it is, for your email.
Okay?
And, okay, now we have the principal meetings, calling all the teachers, let's go get our numbers, here we go. First payroll December?
No.
Second payroll November? What are we looking
Right,
at?
I'm saying to you, we would run it as soon as if we got, let's just use your example, if October 1st we got VAM scores, Judy, when's the next payroll in October?
Well, it's the 15th, but you'd miss it
You'd
for
miss
sure.
it.
And
All
I
right.
and I would
First
not be able
November,
to
please.
guarantee the 31st. This is a new process, got a lot of programming. I met with the people last week, put them on alert about where we were headed so they could start doing some preliminary programming in the background to make sure. But of course, until we get those, and we have to have something in the record, albeit with what we're hopefully going to agree to, it doesn't matter too much except for $1 as to whether they decide to stay on the grandfather salary schedule or whether they move to pay for performance. But there's something in the teacher's record that will have that posted. Teachers will have to, of course, make their choice. But I promise you, we will get to it as fast as we possibly can. I personally want to get it done, not only for the purposes of the teachers, but knowing that January faces us with W-2s. So payroll has a whole nother big task to make sure they get those out on time. So they are very anxious to get started on it as soon as they possibly can.
Now, Dan,
So is ET, so is HR.
Right.
I could speak for all three of
Dan,
them.
we've already had preliminary talks just in HR that we would just make a managerial decision to put out, I'm just saying, we haven't got anything scripted in stone, but this is just our brainstorming, if you would, of how we would go about determining whether someone want to give up their PSC to go AC for $1.
It's worth $1.
It's worth $1, but there may be some people out there, you know. What we were thinking is we would just put out a memo to all PSC teachers, you know what I'm saying? That, and I could do this, if we get a contract, we could do this maybe during the month of September. I put out a memo to all, just all PSC teachers. If you are wanting to blah, 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 give up your PSC, sign this and send it to HR. At least then we notice those teachers and get that process in place to where we would know who has decided to forfeit their PSC versus those who
We
wanted
would
to
have to
keep
do
it.
CC as well, and then some other version of the letter to go to AC teachers who perhaps might
Yeah, I'm
want
at CC
it.
teachers too, yeah. I think there's a handful of CC teachers.
Right, yeah, and you know, someone did bring that up, just so everyone knows, whenever we say PSC, it's always slash,
Right.
in writing, it's PSC/CC.
Right, right.
But,
So I wanted you to know, we were just gonna make a managerial decision to get that out ahead of VAM scores, so that way we could anticipate how many of those people were gonna give up their PSC. Which
Just
I
to answer one more
doubt-
question that's come in
Which I
through,
would say that would probably, I could count them on these two hands.
you could probably count them on your elbow. But there was a, question came in, with all this that we're doing, what about teachers that are NRU? We already have contract language about ins and use, about what happens to, that has salary implications, there's already implications there, so we don't have to deal with that right here. Basically, if you're a PSC or an N, when you earn your way back to an effective, then you get your spot back where you go. But we don't have to deal with, we don't need a column for needs improvement on here, because we have that covered. All right.
Can I ask a question?
Good idea. Yes, please, in fact.
In July or May, wouldn't we have to re-input in money to take away that extra payment for the 18 payments or whatever? You see what I'm saying? If we have a raise and BAM doesn't come in, and then come first part of December or something, there's 18 paychecks left, and that money, our raise is split in the remaining 18 paychecks. Come July, when we're on a new contract or on a new pay,
Your same pay carries from the year before.
correct, but it's gonna be smaller because it's gonna be,
That's
Divided
24
on
months.
24.
That's
Your
right.
excellent point, exactly. That's one of the
That's
things that we've been.
why we always
wanting
want to
talk
do
about.
retro.
Your paychecks actually go through the month of July.
Mhm.
And so come August is when you would notice, or any teacher would notice the difference in terms of how it would then be subdivided into the 24.
Unless we have a new contract.
Well,
But
but
we
you still
can't hang on
won't, but you
until-
still won't know.
Again, we create that,
This
that's
is
what I'm
gonna
saying,
be
we gotta
that
create
cycle.
that cycle. We gotta start getting people
See,
used
if
to
we
the
don't,
fact that we.
well, no, Jim, this is very real. If we don't do retro, then what happens is you get a better pay, because basically you're taking what would have been your retro check and you're just dividing it out among the rest of your checks. And then come that first payroll of August, you're getting your pay divided among 24, so you're not getting, your pay actually goes down. Nominal, but it goes down.
and I think,
And we won't have the new pay until we have the new VAM, until we have the new,
Right. So on
So we
any
could be-
given year, conceivably, you'll miss 6 or 7 paychecks perhaps would be in the boat that Michelle was talking about.
right, wait, hold on.
You don't miss them.
Yeah, Lord.
In
help
terms
us.
of the,
Yeah.
in terms of the smaller amount.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. If you let me
So
finish.
that's already out there, we're missing 6 payrolls. No, we're not. No, we're not.
That's the reason for not wanting to do retro also, because we want the system to do its job, and so that we don't end up underpaying, overpaying, missing anything. We take payroll very seriously, and we don't ever want to skip payroll. We don't ever want to overpay or underpay or miss anybody. So we want to spend our time, checks and balances, setting up a system that, as Jim said, will be a cyclical process that we can deal with. Now, I know that you all have said many times, hopefully the law would change that would preclude us, but we could see if the law doesn't change, that it is going to continue on, as Jim said. So we'd like to set up the process that we can continue from year to year. Unfortunately, right now, these dollar amounts are not that large, so the retro would be that large. It's almost beyond,
Retro for 3 months could be 300.
no.
No.
Well, for 3 months, if we're talking 900 raise, and for 3 months, well, it'd be, for 4 months. Yeah, for 3, you're right, it wouldn't be a third of a year, it'd be a,
You're talking $966, is that what we said? For the top one.
Estimated.
Well,
Divided
as
by-
an estimated dollar.
Right, and divided by 24, that's $40.25.
all right, let's
So,
give you the results of our
Multiply that by
caucus.
$320.
Thank you for entertaining
What's
that.
that, Dan? What's that, Ken?
You did some quick math,
Multiply
Ken?
that by $320.
Right.
before Caucus.
Minus taxes.
Yeah, it's,
Well, maybe someday we'll make the numbers big enough that we'll notice.
right. I get it.
All right,
Hopefully we can be.
let's review what you're asking of us. We've got 6 to 7 language, we've got planning time language, the stipends, the health plan, the salary plan. Is that where we are, Jim?
Yes, sir.
If I hit a major upheaval over the lack of retro, we're gonna talk that out. We don't put in a contract retro or not retro. Okay? If we agree to not, if, we don't discuss payout. It's never been a piece of contract language, it is retro, it's not retro, we just put the salary in there. So I'm gonna assume that we can all work that out if I get with my members and they demand retro. then you and I are gonna talk, but it's, and we'll bring people to talk, but I'm not considering that a bargainable issue. Okay, that was information, so thank you. We engaged in a long time, and something wasn't even bargaining.
No, but it's important.
Oh, yeah, it is, right, and that's why we did.
We've been trying to talk about this since July, so.
Probably, yeah, you're right.
Reality is here now. We've got to discuss how to do it, and I'm glad we had the conversation.
Let me say what I gotta say. I didn't mean to cut you off, I'm sorry. But let me say what I gotta say. You said earlier, quite accurately, that your team, and your team represents this district, which represents this board, has been very open to good faith discussion of every topic we've brought you. And I hope we've reciprocated in being open to talk about everything. We have made a lot of progress, I think, in making things better. Let's face it, that's why we do this. That's why we give up our time. That's why we sit here 9 o'clock at night trying to make things better. I believe that we have improved this district in many ways. Little bits at a time, right? But we're making improvements in the district, which is why we do this. However, I cannot understate my disappointment. Remember, I'm speaking for teachers now. I cannot understate my disappointment that this is where we are on salary. I've got teachers 4 or 5 steps behind, and I know we could talk all day about the legislature ended the step process. We still have a superintendent that brags on this district at 14 steps, and you're at 58,000. I've got teachers that multiply those steps times number of years, and they know how far behind they are, and they even have it calculated out to FRS, how far behind they are. This union has not changed the financial practice of this district. That's informational. You don't have to respond. We haven't. We've tried for years. I've tried before magistrates. I've tried before a board. I've tried at this table. Other people before me have tried. Other people after me will try. We have not changed the culture of taking the padding in the teacher salary budget. Even tonight, we talked about positions that were not filled among bus drivers, and some of those dollars could be captured. And I've sat here at this table, talked about vacant positions in teaching. I've done public records requests and got those vacant positions in teaching that fall to the bottom line. You've got a budget book that shows 5,100 teachers or whatever, you've got several more teachers budgeted than were even on the payroll this year. There's padding in that salary line. I've been saying it for years, and it falls on deaf ears. It's my job as union leadership to try to change that culture as well as cultures of other departments, and I think we're working well on that. But I'm at a point now where I recognize it's important to have a contract when teachers come back. It's important to get morale as good as it can be. My job as chief negotiator is not always to get teachers what I believe they deserve. They deserve a lot more. We might even find common ground on that. But I've got to get the best deal that is available and do the best work I can for this district. And right now, the best work for this district is to get that half penny passed. And I'm scared to death. I got teachers that the morale is so low, they're going to come back, and the only thing they can be mad at is this district, and the only way they can take it out is on that half penny. And I've already got social media groups dedicated to killing me of people in my bargaining unit. So here's the hope that I'm going to lead with as I do this. We have got to change the financial attitude of this district to take dollars that are budgeted and put them into the salary schedule and not budget them just to let them fall to the bottom line. We've got to stop transfers out of operating to capital. When you refinance bonds, those dollars have to be put in play. What power I have is the power of impact bargaining. And the hope I have is that we have a big vote August 26th. And we're going to get 2 new board members that are replacing two incumbents that are not running again. They have pledged to me, they have pledged to this union, they have pledged to teachers that they will be open to changing the financial culture of this district. I can't change it, I admit. I can't change it alone. This union bargaining team has not been effective at changing it. The way this game is played is through politics. I've seen Richard talk till he's half joking it. Well, it's Vicky.
Don't make me laugh.
I've seen Richard says this everywhere he goes. The key to fixing our problems is through politics. If we get Misty Belford on that board, if we get John Craig on that board, they are going to work with us to change the financial culture of this district so that this act of me trying to get dollars before they fall to the bottom line, I'm going to need some backup, I'm going to need some support. And I know ultimately every direction that you get, that Judy gets, that anybody on that test, I know ultimately those directions come from board members. And so my hope is that we will be impact bargaining dollars through the fall. We will have the right board members in place. We will get our half penny passed. I hope teachers don't take this out on this district when they vote on the half penny. And the best I can tell teachers is that I am certain that this is not the best this district can do. I am certain this is not the best this district can do for teachers. I'm certain you've done a wonderful job, your team has done a wonderful job leading us through some good contract changes. But financially, I know this district can do better. And our hope is that it's going to take a new board and a half penny to get there. So I'm going to settle. We're going to TA all of this. And teachers are going to be mad, and teachers are going to say, Dan, how did you settle on that? Some teachers are going to be fine. But other teachers are going to say, how did you settle this? And I'm going to say, it's the best I could extract from this district at this time. And if I hold it up longer, it's not going to get better. I'm going to endanger district finances if I hold it up longer. I'm going to endanger teacher morale if I hold it up longer. So we're going to end this process now. And we're going to take the political process to improve this district in its financial realm. Okay, so let's sign what we need to sign. And we're going to go forward with that one.
Have yourself a contract.
All right, sir.
Thank you all.
Did you get that health insurance?
We have something that'll work.
We got some good nothing? Did Vicky come back alive?
What are you trying to find?
Barry, I'll come on over there. We'll sign it all together. I appreciate it, Barry.
Let me see if I got it.